The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Maybe we can still heal you. Why? So you could just lock me up? No. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding. The shadows betray you because they belong to me.
In the hell do you think you are?
Okay, it's not working out. I'm gonna need the suit back.
For how long?
Forever. Yeah, that's
No, please,
Let's have it.
You don't understand. Please, this is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it. Okay?
So Oz, this week we have another open mic, and we have a new voice to bring to the open mic arena. So before I get to our guest, Oz, I just want to kind of warn you. You are the show's official comic connoisseur, but I think we might have somebody here today who can give you a run for your money. Are you prepared for that?
Oh, I'm excited. I've been waiting for this, and this is it's good, and let's get into it. I feel like there will be some silences on my end, which it's okay. Don't break out the defibrillator. I'm okay. It's going to be all right.
People probably will start getting worried if you're not talking too much. So.
Yeah, if I'm not interrupting Regular Scott, don't worry. It's just I think JD and Regular Scott are gonna, dare I say, have a ball with this one. So I'm cool. It's good. Let's have some fun, man.
All right, and our guest for this open mic from the Superhero Speak podcast, and a author himself, and if I'm correct, a state champion wrestling coach. We got JD. JD, how you doing?
That's national champion.
Oh, I am so sorry. Shots fired at me. My bad.
14 times.
Wow.
What are you? Wait, huh?
I'm part of a good staff. Like I get to hang out with some guys that are really good and take the credit.
Wait, JD, what level is this? Like
high school?
High school? Holy smokes!
I'm a high school wrestling coach. We just got back from our big national tournament every year, and we won 3 out of the 4 age divisions. And 2 kids from my school were national champs themselves. So wrestling takes up a big part of my life.
Dude, JD, so I want to ask you. Are you kind of like a farm for like the Olympics, or is it just like do they take it to the collegiate level? What do they do? It's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. There's not a lot of great ways to make wrestling in the U.S. to make money in wrestling in the U.S. But what we try to do is we try to get kids into colleges. We ask a lot. Like our program is our high school season program is a nationally ranked high school team. So we have some really good athletes that come in and out, and we're always trying to get them into colleges or get them on world teams. And we've never had a world silver medalist this year at the 1500 division. Oh, wow. But that's the goal, is to get them college paid for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's hard in wrestling because you're only allowed a fully funded wrestling program only gets 10 scholarships to split amongst 30 kids. So it's tricky, but it's fun. It's what I've been doing pretty much my whole life. So I can't get away from it.
Now, were you a wrestler yourself?
Yeah, I wrestled. I started late. I was 13. That's really old in amateur wrestling. And if and I wrestled all through high school and college, and I was a judo competitor. And then I've been coaching high school kids for 16 years.
Hey, well, from one coach to another, I know I'm in a different sport, but man, that's incredible. And I know like you're a national champion, so I apologize because you're not a state, you're a national champion. That's an incredible feat right there.
Absolutely.
It's all bells and whistles and superfluous, man. The kids work really hard, and I just tell them what to do. Like, it's awesome. Like, when they listen and they follow what you set out before them, and it's the best.
There's no greater feeling as a coach than to watch like the hard work that you put in and the kids put in, because as much as you can teach them what to do, they still have to go out and perform, and there's really no better feeling, which I'm sure you can definitely attest to, than watching them just go out and kill it time after time.
Absolutely. And it's the work, it's the tears they put in, It's not all ups, we got a lot of downs, when the expectations are high. When they don't reach them, it can get magnified a lot. So I joke that my job is to play psychiatrist for teenagers more often than not, but I like it. It's fun.
Which is another hard job too, by the way.
The hardest job. Like teaching technique is easy. Dealing with fragile teenage egos, that's a challenge.
Yeah. Well, but for regular Scott, JD also, for you guys, I just want to say on both your ends, man, like, regular Scott, people don't know that you were like an amazing basketball player in your high school, and then you started coaching kids. JD, you did wrestling, and then you took it to this national level. That's crazy. Like that's the ultimate of fulfilling your dreams, I think.
Just working with kids, man, helping them get to the next level, because someday they're going to pay it back and help kids that they run into. And it sounds corny, but it really I really do enjoy that part of it.
That's not corny, man. You were literally paying it forward, man. That's awesome.
It is
Thanks.
pretty cool.
It is cool.
So, JD, I know I noticed that you had a thought about our kind of heated conversation we had about James Bond and a title.
And so it begins.
Yeah, let's get off it. Let's get going. Last week's episode, I was sitting in, I believe I was still in North Dakota at the time, and I was sitting at a Panera, and I was listening to the show, getting a kick out of it. I taught on our show this week. I said, Taking E is a lot like our show, but you guys are like cool, and
I appreciate that.
And the James Bond is not a title. James Bond is a guy, but there's just no continuity between actors, and even the continuity that exists is super, super loose.
Very thin. Maybe a character.
It's a character, because if you look in Skyfall, they're at the Bond family. I don't know if it's call it a compound, but the Bond family
the castle or whatever it was.
Castle, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that is actually belonged to the Bond family, and so it can't, because I always thought that too, that it was just a title. But right. I mean, the Broccolis and the people who run James Bond, man, they don't care about continuity. They're just trying to make the next movie. So I think that we put way more thought into this stuff. I actually think that I can't remember her name off the top of my head. The woman who's going to play the new 007, I think that's going to be the plot. She's given his designation, and that's going to kind of be the external conflict of the movie. Is he's going to feel like he's getting pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
Lashana Lynch.
Next generation. That's the vibe I have. But yes, I enjoyed listening to that fight.
Yeah, but in a way, do you guys I think it's one of those classic movie themes that's the younger, smarter, better person goes against the older seasoned person. Who wins this eternal struggle?
Right.
Think of Soldier from Kirk Russell. Remember that one? Come on.
And I think that's been a through line through the Daniel Craig Bonds, especially, is he's getting older.
Yeah.
Since he took on Casino Royale, that's been kind of a motif that's stuck with all those movies. Is this Bond he looks good, but he's an old guy, and he's got a lot of mileage on him. So I'm interested to see what they do with this.
Yeah, and he's not, and he is getting older, because remember, I think the very first Bond, where the scene that starts off, that he's chasing the bad guy. The bad guy is parkouring his ass and going through little tiny holes in the windows. He's just running through doors because he knows he can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Still might be the best. So. That might be Daniel Craig's best. In my opinion, that might be his best Bond film. It's Casino Royale.
I got a soft spot for Skyfall, but I won't argue that. They're good. They're all. I wasn't big on Spectre, but those first two movies are really good.
They are.
So I can't argue that.
So Oz, which one you got?
Man, I appreciated the first one when I saw Daniel Craig. I like his style though, but there was this little last rat standing. There's some little things that I dig. Red Scott's like, please pick an answer.
Hey man, look.
I know, dude.
Just it's okay. Do your thing. Hey, look, enjoy this now before we start getting into wrestling. Is what I'll say.
Oh, I know. I'm kind of like relaxing.
It's coming
for a second. Okay. Yeah, I feel like there's this huge like wrestling tsunami that's approaching me, and I'm on the beach.
Hey, JD, watch this. JD, watch this. Hey, Oz, do you know what AEW is?
I love that drink, man.
Okay, great.
Wait, that's not the root beer drink, right? Oh, sorry. Okay,
what about the G1?
Wait, hold on. Now let's not get evil here, because my
you're
frame
right.
of reference.
Shots fired.
I do know about some Triple H. See.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
I know about Triple H. I know about McMahon's daughter, who sometimes wrestled, but she's supposed to take over the business, right?
Well, okay.
Okay, sorry.
You know who she is. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Okay.
I do know that the Iron Sheik he's not in this, right?
He's a great Twitter follower.
Dude, that guy he's got some Twitter venom in him.
Okay, so back to the original question. First of all, before the wrestling.
My bad.
I think Skyfall. I like Skyfall. Casino Royale was cool. The thing that bums me out was that whole defibrillator thing. Kind of bummed me out. And also, that dude had his nuts crushed.
He did.
That torture scene is something else. I think why I really like the poker scene with them at the table, and he goes and fights, and he comes back to the table, and he's got to be able to keep his cool, and I like.
Yeah,
I
but
like
then
that
he has a
whole
heart
thing.
attack, and they get in the defibrillator thing. I'm just like,
I hear that. I hear that.
But part of it was to say that no matter what, he can stay composed. I get that. That was cool. It's fine. But yeah, it's fine.
All right, great. That's a good start. So Oz, I hope you enjoyed that, because that might be the last time we hear from you. So before we get too deep,
we do have some comic book and some animated issues to talk about too, sir.
Hey, look, don't worry. I do have some news. I got some ones gotta go. I got all that, and we got JD here.
And regular Scott, I have a burning question for JD too.
Well, go ahead and do that before I say.
Can I please, before you do your set the table, I got to ask this. JD, have you seen The Killing Joke animated?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right. So that's all I needed to know. Thank you very much, because I would really love to hear your opinion on that animated film. So
I would have watched it last night if I knew the question was coming.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about other things. Go ahead, regular Scott.
JD, he wanted to know, because he wants to know your thoughts on Batgirl and Batman having sex. Spoiler.
It's weird, man.
Spoiler.
Listen to me. The first 7 minutes of the freaking animated, they have sex for no reason, and
I don't know if it's the first 5 minutes, but
I think people did it as an evil thing to say, I'm going to make you hate this movie.
I knew about it. I think we talked about it on our show. It's so foreign to the relationship the two characters have in the comics, but they did set it up. They did talk about it in Batman Beyond, that they had a relationship. I don't know, man. It's odd. It's not what I want from Batman.
Right.
It changes how you view Batman and his relationship with these kids to me.
It does.
With everyone.
I mean, it just changes everything. It's like it changes this whole mythos. Like, this dude, waits until she turns 18, then he all of a sudden wants to have sex with her?
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels.
That's exactly how it feels, man.
It makes him very creepy, because he still has to deal with Dick and has to deal with Gordon.
Man, Dick Grayson always gets shafted, man, and I don't know why.
No, listen to me. Jim Gordon sends out the bat signal. Hey, Batman, we have a crisis. Scarecrow something. Bat signal comes. Batman comes, talks to Jim. All the while he's going, I boned your daughter, right?
Yeah.
That's not cool.
No, I think the issue, and this is a DC Comics issue overall, is that in the 90s, specific late 80s and 90s, there was this effort to bring in a new generation of characters.
Yes.
And then they put the brakes on it, but they can't get rid of that new generation of characters. So then you have to retroactively de-age this previous generation. So you said Dick Grayson gets the shaft because him and Batman in the mainstream universe are what, like 5 years difference?
Right.
And it changes their relationship.
Right,
so,
dude.
Like when you look at it, it's like, I guess it's like what, a 32-year-old Batman with like a 24-year-old Batgirl. Like when you say it like that, it doesn't sound bad, but it isn't, because the Batman is supposed to be in his late 30s by the time these kids get going. Like and it's that fight that really makes DC a weird place sometimes.
I know.
It's the fact that you can't put they want to have their, like the corny phrase, they want to have your cake and eat it too, but that's what, like, they want their heroes to be young but still have all this interest accrued behind them. And it makes for awkward moments like that. Like on paper, that shouldn't be a big deal, but in execution, it's freaking weird.
It's really
well,
weird.
It makes all these DC characters like they are perpetually dipping into the Lazarus pit, and they're coming out crazy. Seriously, because man, and DC's problem for me personally, DC's problem is always they are always trying to play catch up, so they're always reacting to stuff, to whether it's social, whatever the way society is. It feels like they're always trying to catch up when they should just do their own thing and be happy with it,
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, before we get too deep into this open mic, this is going to be a lot of fun. Allow me to set the table. This is Take a Knee for Marvel vs. DC. I am your host, Regular Scott. I am here with the comic connoisseur himself, the mighty Ozzy Killmonger. Oz, what's going on?
What is up, good people?
And we got from Superhero Speak Podcast, the national champion wrestling coach, JD. JD, plug anything you want, man.
I have got 9 novels coming out in the next 15 months. They will the first one will hit on September 10th, and that's kind of where my creative juices have gone to in the last 2 years. I was focusing on comics primarily, but that is a very expensive medium, and I'm gonna make the effort. I've made the effort into going into narrative writing, and so it's kind of my thing now.
Well, now, JD, you can't just leave it like that. Now, what's the genre? Can you give a little teaser about what they're about?
The first, and they're all kind of interconnected, but like the first book is going to be a standalone thriller horror series. It's about a police detective investigating a serial killer in Chicago. Turns out to be a werewolf, and then he investigates further and finds out that it's him. And what do you do with that knowledge?
You just said werewolf. I'm all in.
Yep, it's called Harvest Moon, and then that's a standalone novel. And one of the characters from that book gets spun off into his own series. A character named Ethan Jericho. The best way I can describe him would be, what if John Wick worked the X-Files?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's
JD,
the series that I have launched.
You had me at hello.
Yeah, no, that's dope. That's awesome.
That'll be the first. That Harvest Moon comes out September 10th. The first Jericho standalone book called Conspiracy Theory hits the next week.
Oh, that is awesome. I am writing all this down now.
Oz is a big reader, so this is right up his alley. Like, he loves a good novel.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I love a good sci-fi thriller, any sort of horror thriller, too.
Me too. That's
awesome,
why I'm writing
man.
these books.
Yeah, and my own personal thing is, and again, it's my personal opinion and my own bias. I'm so sick of vampires, man. The werewolves never get any love, dude.
I agree.
I just want to say that they just don't get the love.
As sick as I am of vampires, I'm more sick of zombies.
Yeah, yes, dude. I know. Yes.
So yeah, that's what I got going on right now.
That's awesome.
No, that is cool. And you can follow us on Twitter at NeedForMarvelVerseDC. Send us emails at NeedForMarvelVerseDC@GoDefyLife.com. We got nothing from Steph Blurdy this week. I'm a little disappointed.
Thank God. Dude.
I'm sure you're happy about that, Oz.
Well, I mean, my low self-esteem, man. He kicked it down to the suburbs. It was in the subway system. It was crazy. Yeah, but Steph Blurdy, just want to say, keep the emails, everybody, keep the emails coming, especially all the negativity towards regular Scott. I love it. It's perfect. It's really good.
You just like that he be bagging on Dick Grayson, man.
Well, I mean, he has some good points.
Whatever, man. Whatever.
No, nothing. And he did say that he started to like Deep Space Nine, which is, we've come a long way, guys.
Hey, JD,
nice.
let me ask you a question. How do you feel about Dick Grayson and Nightwing?
I love Dick Grayson.
Thank you.
I think the character is fantastic.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you. See?
But I think he's lost. I think he's lost in the shuffle. There have been too many Robins, and it's easy to ignore him. One of my favorite periods of Batman was, I'm a big Grant Morrison fan. I really liked the Dick Grayson Batman, Damian Wayne Robin stories.
Yes.
And why didn't they continue that like they were supposed to?
Because they're making money off Bruce Wayne. That's the It's all about IP. That's what it's all about. They need Bruce Wayne as Batman. Story be damned.
Yeah, and what we get, and I'm getting regular Scott. There's no disrespect, but Dick Grayson, who is he? Is he Batman? Is he Nightwing? Or is he Agent Dick Grayson? Who is this dude?
I've told you before. If they wanted to introduce Dick Grayson to the world, a Spiral type spy movie with him as Grayson, and you can introduce Midnighter and all that, would be the perfect way to introduce him. And at the very end, you can show him being a spy for Batman. You don't even have to say it's Grayson. All you got to do is show him being a spy for Batman at the very end of the movie, and it would work perfect. That. See what I'm saying? Like, that is an easy way to introduce him.
Regular Scott gives away $1 million. Okay.
I took your segment, Oz.
No, it's good. I appreciate all that. I'm just saying the banter between Damian and Dick was awesome, dude. And you could still keep Bruce Wayne as like the Batman of Batman Incorporated, of the international Batman. We're going global. We're going galaxy Batman, whatever.
Shout out David Zimbabwe. Shout out David Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I will never, ever forget that on another trivia question again. So thank you.
All right. Well, let's get into some news before me and JD take over this conversation. Hey, look, JD, I'm trying to keep him involved a little bit,
I get it.
Before we really start getting rolling, I want to keep Oz involved.
He's literally, he has me dangling on a string, dude. It's like, I see the carrot, man. I'm not falling for it.
I'm about to derail your show, so I can't. So we have to stay on topic somewhat.
Oh, snap. All right, so little Doctor Strange rumors. Clea is rumored to be the love interest in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse movie, and Nightmare is going to be the villain.
Okay.
JD, what are your thoughts on that?
I find it interesting if they're going to go with Clea as the love interest character, since they already announced that Wanda Maximoff will be in that movie.
Right.
It makes me wonder where they're going. I don't know, because the WandaVision sounds a lot like the I believe it was Englehart or Gerber, I forget which, books of the 80s, where Wanda and Vision lived in the suburbs. So
right.
I'm curious where that puts us. Nightmare's with that title, Nightmare's the perfect villain.
Yeah.
And they say they're going to try to go into a little bit more horror-ish genre with it. So yeah,
that's awesome.
I agree.
Good.
I do agree with that.
They should open, I like the Marvel movies I enjoy the most are the ones that bend the genre a little bit and allow themselves to do something else, rather than the traditional superhero story.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Oz, what are your thoughts?
Well, I keep thinking this dude has a lot of enemies, like Mordo, and then you also have, Cleo as a love interest is awesome, but Cleo also betrayed this dude too.
Well, that might be coming then.
So it's it sets him up for a lot of fighting and heartbreak. Maybe I look forward to it. I look forward to, I think, Wong, him being back and stuff.
I like Wong.
Well, and then, I guess another horror-ish kind of film. Isn't the New Mutants movie supposed to be kind of a little bit on the horror take, too?
Is that still coming out?
That's not a real movie.
That's what I was thinking. Is that still even a thing?
It's never going to come out.
Got it.
If they release it, it'll be direct to Hulu. This movie, I love the trailer. I thought the trailer was.
I know, right?
But it's been 2.5 years. It must be terrible. It must be absolutely
Right.
terrible.
See, at first I thought that, they were holding out because I thought maybe they were retconning some things to try to put it into the MCU since things are coming over. But now it just seems like, it's probably just going to be a maybe straight to Disney Plus or Hulu type movie or something like that.
Wow.
Well, because, why wouldn't they have released it by now?
Oh, no, that's true. I thought they were like saying 2020 or at least at the end of 2019, but yeah.
Because it's got Massey Williams from Game of Thrones, right? Why wouldn't you piggyback off of her Game of Thrones popularity?
Because everybody's still mad at Game of Thrones. Do you know, I guess, what is it in San Francisco Comic-Con that the Game of Thrones panel, like they couldn't do it or something like that because people were pissed at them?
Really?
I didn't hear that, no.
No, there was something about they wanted to do like a panel or something weird, and people were like, the fans were like, it was some weird reaction or something. I think people were still pissed at that.
Well, it's not just her. Like the older brother from Stranger Things is Cannonball in that movie. So you have some star credibility in that movie.
Yeah, you got a lot.
And yet, it's not going to happen.
Well, JD, maybe you're correct. Maybe it is a turd.
I think it's something that makes sense right now because why wouldn't they just release it and be done with it? Especially in the wake of the Dark Phoenix movie, where everybody kind of went, oh.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen that because I just was like, oof. So,
well, speaking of piggybacking off of Stranger Things, David Harbour is going to be the Russian super soldier, Red Guardian.
Good Lord.
In the Black Widow movie, yes. In the Black Widow movie.
He is the Russian Captain America.
Pretty much. He had a Captain America shirt on at the Comic-Con.
Which works.
Yeah. I just finished Stranger Things Season 3 last week, so I've become a pretty big... I finished that, and me and my wife, we watched that in probably 2 weeks, the whole series, and I've become a big fan of his after that. I really enjoyed him in that series, so I'm excited
great.
for that. Yeah, he is really good. I didn't see Hellboy just because I didn't want to have a negative view of him, and I enjoyed Ron Perlman.
Was it bad?
Yeah, was it bad, Oz?
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want you both to listen to me very carefully, okay? Save your money. Save a little bit of you could spend 2 hours of your life doing something else, like I don't know, reading a magazine, hanging out on the toilet. It's the same thing. That movie, man, I watched that movie. I went to the theater and saw that, and I was just going, holy smokes. Ron Perlman still is Hellboy to me. That's it.
Yeah.
And they literally, not a spoiler alert, they took a bunch of Mike Mignolia's storylines and kind of blended them in. I was like, wow, this is kind of cool, but you still are failing miserably, And I said it to Regular Scott. I cannot see. He's the guy who played his father. He's also in Deadwood. He's also in American Gods. That guy is in everything. He's got to chill out for a second.
We don't know who you're talking about because
movie. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, he's he's the dude from Deadwood. You guys know American God? He plays Odin in American God.
I haven't watched American God, so
so he plays Odin in American God. You guys, he's British. He is that character actor.
All right. Well, how about this, Oz? How about we're going to move on to the next bit of news, and you get back to us with that.
It's Ian McShane.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. I told you JD was going to be on you this episode.
Dude, no. Hey, it's refreshing. It's refreshing to have someone who actually has a bit of knowledge on the show.
Oh,
so it's kind of nice.
Shots fired. Shots fired, man. Come on, man. All right. Moving on. Shots fired. John Wick director Derek Kolstad is going to be joining the Winter Soldier and Falcon TV show.
Oh Lord, yes.
So, I heard JD on y'all's show. You guys were talking about it needed to be in kind of like a Lethal Weapon type show. Does this get you more excited about that?
It depends on what his involvement is, because in TV, the director really doesn't matter.
Right,
the director comes on and just tells people where the camera goes and that kind of a thing. If he's playing a producer role and can have some creative input, I'm excited. If he's just going to direct an episode, it's no more impact than when Kevin Smith comes on and does a couple, Supergirls. Like,
Right.
The writer, like in film, the director is king, whereas in television, it's really more of a writer's medium. Mm-hmm. So I need to look into this a little bit more and figure out what role he's going to play. It has the potential to be awesome.
Right. But if he's just coming on to be like, okay, smile a little bit more here or grunt a little bit more here, and like, who cares? You know what I mean?
Right.
Then it literally was the silliness. I'm totally dating myself, but like, so on ER, when ER was really red hot, it was like,
are you bringing up ER on this show?
Oh yeah, for a reason. Because it's legit. Because they were like, on ER, Quentin Tarantino directs ER. It was like, oh, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, he did one flashy little camera move, and that was it. It was nothing there. So I think it could potentially be the same thing. So.
All right.
Like I said, it was a legit reference. Okay.
Okay. I was just, we've brought up some very obscure things, and ER is definitely up there. So it served a purpose.
Hey, no one remembers Marine Boy, the short-lived animated show from the '80s. So it's fine.
What?
Yeah.
What? All right, great. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely from, I think I said that name correctly, from Endgame have said that one of their ideas was for Thanos to travel to 2014 in the movie, decapitate Captain America, and bring his head to the final battle.
What?
That's pretty. Yeah, that's what I said when I first read that as well. JD, would you have liked to see Captain America's head being brought to the battlefield?
What would that do?
I guess it's an intimidation factor.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my microphone was on mute.
No, you're good.
I went and saw this movie with my wife the second time I saw it. And sitting next to her during the whole movie was an 7-8-year-old boy. And in the scene when Tony Stark dies, this poor kid, I was crying too, but this poor kid was near inconsolable.
Oh, no.
I don't want to think about what he would have been like if Thanos showed up with Captain America's head.
True.
That's a bad business decision.
That's a dark turn right there, man.
Yeah. This is why Feige's in control, and he can go, no.
Yeah, no, I do. I thought it was pretty dark myself. Oz, would you have liked to see Captain America's head?
No, but I would have liked to have seen the Hulk's burnt, busted arm. Thanos goes back in 2014 and brings to the fight the Hulk's arm, since it was useless in the fight anyway. So that's what I would like to have seen. So.
Still got a grudge against the way they use Hulk, huh?
Because the Hulk, do you understand that the Hulk, there are these maggots that are existing, and they devour this dude to nothing, and he still regenerates.
That's true.
So I'm just like, and also there was when Bruce Banner was smart Professor Hulk, he was burnt to a crisp too and regenerated. It was just a poor excuse to be like, let's take this dude out, Yeah, man. Oh, it was that. So yes, I am still better, regular Scott. Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
All right.
So
I was just curious. JD, what do you? I heard your guys' review of Endgame, so I kind of know you're very high on Endgame. What are your thoughts on how they used Hulk, and are you as disappointed as Oz was?
No, I wasn't, because I was a kid of the 90s, and I really liked the Professor version of the Hulk.
So good, right?
Yeah, and I like that. I think this is the closest interpretation we're ever going to get to it. And like when you have when you have a character like the Hulk that's so powerful, like the answer isn't, well, why doesn't Hulk just go smash everyone? Like, and you do kind of write yourself into a corner. Like Oz is right. They literally did that to take him off the table a little bit.
The arm in Professor Hulk and the arm thing was basically like them saying the Hulk started doing yoga and started eating right, and so they had a more positive attitude.
Yeah, he went vegan.
Like, the Hulk went vegan, dude.
He went keto.
Yeah, he's on keto. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I was okay with it because it didn't bother me. Like, I got to be honest, but I hear where Oz is coming from, and it makes sense. The criticism makes sense, but it didn't bother me in the moment.
But okay, so JD, here's the thing though. Did you not a little tiny bit want the Hulk to get a little bit of revenge back on Thanos from what he did to him in Infinity War? You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
It did, but I'm also of the mind that the Hulk story is never quite finished because we're never going to get a Hulk movie. So I always look at these movies as just another chapter in the Hulk story. Like, I just look at it, this is just one more little roadblock that Banner's going to have to overcome.
So the next Hulk story we get is going to be Hulk in the microverse. So.
Something they'll stick him in something. Like, who thought that? I said this in our show last week. Who thought that Ragnarok was going to wind up being a Planet Hulk adaptation? You know,
right.
Like Hulk just shows up in these movies. He may be in Eternals for all we know. Like,
hey, so JD, let me put you on the spot then. Where? Because you sound like you think Hulk will show up. Where do you think Hulk would show up or make the most sense showing up in the Phase 4 slate?
I was jokingly saying Eternals. I mean, that's possible. I think that a more reasonable place for him to show up would probably be like Loki. I see him more in the series than I see him in a movie. So my guess would be either Falcon Winter Soldier or Loki.
Okay. Yeah. Oz, what do you think about that?
Man, I don't think they're going to have too many overly powered people in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I get the Loki thing. I feel just for shits and giggles, why not throw him into Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah,
in some weird way.
That's not part of the Phase 4, but yeah, that totally makes sense to put him in. I was just thinking more in terms of what's coming soon.
Hey, JG, he don't listen to the question. He just wanted to answer his own thing, do his own thing. He's not even listening to the question, man.
So, Regular Scott, I'm not trying to start a fight with having a guest here, so I'm trying to be very respectful of you. Hey, look, I know I'm about to get X'd out of this conversation real quick. I'm just trying to enjoy it. I'm just trying to have a little fun for my own personal amusement. I know as soon as we start talking about wrestling and Coco Beware.
Coco Beware. Okay. You really pulling him out the hat on this one, huh? I'm surprised you didn't pull out Junkyard Dog.
What? So JD and Regular Scott, where is Mr. Perfect in the ranking currently?
Really? Dead. Yeah, he's dead, dude.
He's dead?
Yeah, he's been dead for a while.
15 years.
You're kidding me.
No, dude. Like, why you of all people you pick Mr. Perfect?
So wait, so Jake the Snake is still right?
Yeah, shockingly.
Okay, hold on. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat dead.
He's alive and well.
Jimmy Snooker is in jail.
Dead.
Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. Now, Ric Flair just came out of the hospital, this I know.
Alive despite his best efforts.
That's a really good way of putting it, JD, because that dude is just he's hanging on, but he comes back. He's always on TV somehow.
Yeah, he's a survivor. He's not too far from that Ric Flair character. You can't keep him down.
No, you can't.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Dead.
What?
Oz.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You're turning this into a very somber show right now. Like, I feel like we need to take a break or something.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Okay. This is crazy. This is like my childhood is like seriously like creeping away from me.
So hey Oz, have you heard about Hulk Hogan?
Oh man, well yeah, he's so sad, man.
Career dead.
Yeah.
Career
right.
Toilet dead, dude.
This Monday he showed up on Raw, and that was probably the first time I've ever seen Hogan come out and do his poses and get absolutely not zero reaction, but a fraction of a reaction.
Are you like no? Did anybody boo him or anything? Were they trying to be respectful?
I don't think he got booed, but they certainly didn't go crazy like they used to.
No, it was different.
It was very different. It was almost like we're gonna be respectful to you type applause, even though he probably doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
A polite applause.
We'll put it this way: Steve Austin came out next, and it was not even close.
Blew the roof off the place.
Well, and by the way, I was talking. So JD, I was talking to Regular Scott before the show. My kid has been watching The Flash season 4. Regular Scott, Goldberg is in season 4.
Yeah, he's in jail with him.
Yes, he's in jail with him. So I was like, wow, look at Goldberg.
I'm surprised.
Is he playing a character, or is he just a big dude in jail?
He is a big dude in jail spoiler alert, who Barry Allen's real father, saved because I think he had appendicitis in the docks, and the guards didn't believe him. So Barry Allen's father may have did surgery on him or something weird. And so Goldberg saves Barry, not really saves him, but says, "Hey, leave the kid alone." That kind of thing. You're my ward. And Barry Allen, in a feat of benevolence, speed forces him to a Zen monastery in China, where he can live out the rest of his life in peace. So, and as I said to Regular Scott, why is everybody going to prison?
Look, man, Barry Allen is the fastest man alive, and yet he is always the slowest person to do everything. That's true. How are you a forensic scientist and you can't figure out a way to prove to people that you were innocent, and you're the fastest man alive on top of that?
Dude, man, this guy went to court, and the judge, I was like, okay, only because this crazy mastermind has planned everything. I'm like, Barry Allen, you are literally the fastest. Like, yeah, it was. So season 4 has been very funny to me.
That has a precedent, though. Like in the early 80s in the comics, it's the same thing. Like they had an 18-month trial of Barry Allen. That same idea that took forever. That basically ended with him going to the future before he died. So I mean, like, it's on brand.
Well, dude, so he's just going, yes, while I'm sitting here in court, I'm also fighting crime too. So yeah, okay, it's cool.
Sounds about right.
Sticking with the CW, JD, I'm pretty sure you guys talked about this on your show, but I know Oz hasn't heard this news yet. Tommy Elliott will be in the Batwoman series.
Who?
Tommy Elliott.
Who's Tommy Elliott?
Hush.
What? Oh God. Bruce left us for some reason. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of Hush.
Well, and speaking of that, I saw the Hush movie, and it deviates from the comic, of course, and it is what it is.
Well, no. Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I think it was good. I'm still one of the ones who thinks that, like in the comics, I think instead of it being Clayface, who was Jason Todd, I think it should have just been Jason Todd, but that's a whole nother subject.
I agree 100%. I went off on a tangent on that in our show, the exact same thing. Hush should have been Jason Todd.
Yeah, it's a whole nother subject, though. But, yeah. To be honest, the twist was okay. I don't know if it made a lot of sense because, the person who it ended up being, I don't know if they would be capable of pulling that off and stuff. But there's a lot of cameos in it. It's just Lady Shiva, and they do a lot of cameos. There's a lot of, frame for frame shots from the comic, which I did appreciate. It's better than The Killing Joke. I'll say that.
So, just in the first 7 minutes, does he have sex with anyone?
Actually.
Oh God.
No, not in the first 7 minutes, but he definitely does get it in.
Oh God, dude.
So, it's not with Batgirl, if that makes you feel better.
No, but I think.
I mean, it sticks mostly to the comics.
Who he does it with is who he should be doing with, yes. I believe.
Yes, yeah, it sticks mostly to the comics. I don't want to give away spoilers because I don't know if JD's going to watch it or not, and I don't know if you're going to watch it, so I don't want to give away too much.
Well, just to be clear, he does have sex with Lois Lane like he's supposed to, right?
What?
That's the comic connoisseur for you. Always trying to throw people for a loop.
I just want to say, because it would be appropriate if that happened, just so that Dick Grayson, Jim Gordon, and Clark Kent can all hate his guts. You know,
why you always keep bringing Dick Grayson back into this, dude? And you know what? Speaking of Dick Grayson and Hush, they made that dude look like a chump again. Why they keep doing that?
They always do regular Scott and animated things, dude. I will never ever forget in the whole what was it? Batman. Spoiler alert: Batman versus
it's
Robin,
Batman
whatever.
Bad Blood, I think.
Dude, well, yeah,
it's Batman Bad Blood, the one where he beats up Dick Grayson.
No, sir. The one where the owls spike him through his legs and his arm and are dragging him out, and Batman has to save him.
And we could see, and they couldn't even do the Court of Owls one because Dick Grayson ends up being the main one, so they couldn't even give him that.
Yeah, and they totally had to disrespect him. This dude has been doing gymnastics since he was like 2 days old, and like it was terrible, man. I'm sorry. They play your friend all the time, sir. There has not been one legit Dick Grayson. The only cool Dick Grayson has been Titans, the live action. That's it.
I think he was good in the Judas Contract.
Okay. I stand corrected. There you go. Name that. Just those two, though. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we're moving on. JD, I'm gonna leave it up to you. Do you want to play One's Gotta Go before or after the commercial?
Oh, that's on you, man. Your show, but I definitely want to play.
Well, JD, just to say, whichever one you want to do, because it still gives me a little bit more talking time, so it's fine.
Let's do it right now.
All right. Sounds good. One's Gotta Go. We're going to do it Marvel style since we got the Comic-Con just finished. We got a whole bunch of new shows and movies. Yeah. So out of these 4 shows, one of these has to go and will never get made. Falcon Winter Soldier.
They're gone forever.
They're gone forever. They're never going to be made. They got to take this off the slate. So we're going to do TV shows, and then we'll do movies after the break. So TV shows first. Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision, the What If series, or Hawkeye. JD, you first. One's got to go.
Oh, What If?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I figured the animated What If would be good. Why is that?
Because it's not gonna. It's just gonna be a bunch of maybe stories. Like if when I was a kid, if I go to the comic shop and I had X amount of dollars to spend, I like What If, but What If has no bearing on the greater story. What If was a bonus. What If is like, oh, I got a couple extra bucks this week. I'll pick up a What If.
Wow. Hey, Oz, he really he's really trying to not have you talk anymore because that was a quick answer. He's trying to shut you out the conversation.
I'm I got to say as a rebuttal, I was, and some of them were just terrible, but I was just the biggest, hugest What If and Elseworld fans. My mind was blown wide open when they said that there was a multiverse. You know, I love that. I always loved that whole possibility. Now, listen, there have been some terrible What Ifs, you know, and there have been some very terrible Elseworlds. And you all, and the people who wrote them, they know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, man, I will say this, JD. I think there's a potential for it to be very like watered down, you know. And,
yeah, I agree.
And for the masses, I don't think they're going to get into any sort of gritty what ifs, you know.
No.
Man, wow! Even so, you're excited about WandaVision, huh?
I am excited. I really like those stories. Like I said, I mentioned them earlier. Like Wanda Maximoff, when done right, is crazy powerful and crazy. Period. Like, and I want to see what they're going to do. Like, are they going to tap into the fact that their kids are fragments of Mephisto's soul?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. Like, I want to, and that also brings us into, you know, Young Avengers. Like that. Yeah. The Wanda Vision relationship is the foundation for some of my favorite books. Like, I really like the John Byrne West Coast Avengers run, and that was big time playing on what happened in that series. I don't think it's gonna play on these TV shows, but I just really like that dynamic, and I think that Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch has been a little underutilized in the movies, and her and Paul Bettany do have a pretty good chemistry, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do, especially if it takes place in the 50s. So that means we're getting to see the extent of her powers. Like, it sounds like they're going to do a thing where she creates like a Pleasantville type of environment where they can be normal people, and then it completely falls apart. That's unique. That's cool. And I want to see if they're going to tap into the demonology side of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, well, and she is she's mega powered, and she also I like the whole Vision and Wanda and Scarlet Witch thing. But then when she had the kids taken away from her, she lost her mind, dude.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that's what might lead us into the multiverse of madness. Wow. Just a theory. But I think that's going to have some really cool moments and some really cool impact on these characters. So that's the one show I think I'm most excited about.
It has been confirmed that the WandaVision show will lead directly into the Doctor Strange Madness of the Multiverse movie. So you're probably right, JD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
Hey, JD, did Agatha have anything to do with the birth, or did she have anything to do with them being the kids being destroyed?
I believe, she was their nanny. I'm trying to remember. She was their nanny. I think that she kind of facilitated it. Like, I think it was Wanda's powers that let it happen, but she didn't because Wanda doesn't always know what she's doing.
It's the hex power.
Yeah, It just kind of does things, and quite frankly, Agatha was kind of like she just was around a lot to explain things to the audience, to the reader. So, yeah, she played a role. Like, depending on how you read it, like, she's either working with Mephisto or not. Like,
wow,
I'm curious, man. I hope they bring her in. They got to.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be okay. Whoa, okay. And obviously, you were totally all in for Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Oz.
That's going to be a great show.
One's got to go for you.
Man, see, that's well, let me try and speak before I can't speak anymore. Man, dude, that What If I really want to see, but I can smell it. I think they're going to do the whole watered down thing, but in my heart, I want them to do a sex, death, and robots kind of thing, but they won't do that. It's fine.
I feel like I feel like you wanted to pick WandaVision and JD just talked you out of it. I feel like that's what's happened, and this is why you're having such a hard time.
No, he had a good point, man. It is going to be cool, but
so he did talk you out of it.
Hey, hold on, hold tight. So we said Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier, Captain America. Winter Soldier, Falcon. We said, What If, WandaVision. Didn't you have a fourth?
And Hawkeye.
Loki. Oh, Hawkeye. Sorry.
Yeah, Hawkeye.
Oh, hell no. I mean, I'm all in for that, dude. Okay.
I figured everybody would pick I knew Oz would pick Loki, and I didn't know JD, you'd be so quick to pick the What If, so that threw me for a loop as well.
No, so here's my thing, dude. Shit. WandaVision.
Wow. Even after so hey JD, let me tell you what just happened there. He was gonna keep WandaVision until I said something. That's what just happened there.
That's okay.
I know
exactly what just happened.
In a bit of it, I have to be a little contrary, but because wait, hold on, one more thing. The What If thing is supposed to be animated too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, come on, dude. I can't get rid of it. I just feel, and I know I'm going to be disappointed, but I want it to be good. Listen to me, writers. I need that What If to be good.
And I have heard a rumor that one of the first What If stories is going to be Peggy Carter getting the super soldier serum.
Oh. Well, okay. Yep. Okay. WandaVision done. Because I got to see Hawkeye, dude.
I'm surprised. Okay, WandaVision. All right, cool.
And that is very light, man. Because part of me, I really want to see the Loki thing too, though.
All right, I hear you.
Oh, screw it, dude. I'll do Loki. Forget it.
Loki's not in it. Loki's not a part of it. You don't get. It's not one of the ones.
Can we just put him up, make a part of it? Because
no, I know you, and I knew you would pick that.
Fine, dude. I'm keeping with the WandaVision, but it's very, very, very like close.
JD, you almost had him.
It was close, dude. You know, JD, when you started talking, I was just like, man, I remember. Yeah, those are good. Those are damn good.
This is literally what I do on our show. Is Dave will make an argument for something, and I'll come back with a but, and then at the end he's always like, yeah, you got a point. I live for doing that.
It was good. It was a good one, man. But that what if is? Listen, once again, guys, you can't let me down, please.
All right, so you got WandaVision. JD's got the what if.
Well, Redwick Scott, what you got, dude?
Well, I like to be different myself. So,
oh God, Hawkeye.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If they didn't show Kate Bishop in kind of the little trailer they showed, it would have been Hawkeye, no question. But I will pick Hawkeye.
Wait, Bishop is supposed to be in the Hawkeye series?
Yes.
Kate Bishop,
Bishop.
the girl Hawkeye.
Why would you?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because I don't think it's gonna be a dark and gritty show like it would be on Netflix. This Disney Plus, I don't know how dark it's gonna be. So, and that could be unfair to it, and not seeing anything. If this was on Netflix, I would think it would be darker, kind of like a Daredevil-esque type, real violent. I don't know if it's going to go that violent on Disney Plus. So, and I want to see Falcon Winter Soldier. I want to see WandaVision because that's going to lead into the movie. And I think the animated realm gives them more freedom to do more things. And a lot of the actors are going to be voicing some of the characters. So, Hawkeye to me out of this list would be the least interesting for me.
Now, so what happens when Hawkeye turns into like a kind of cool ass The Professional?
Then I'm going to eat crow.
Yeah,
that he shot out the air.
But because they've announced some series coming to Hulu, like Ghost Rider and Satana and that kind of stuff, some darker Marvel stuff, I think that Disney Plus will kind of hang out in that PG-13 world.
Hey, look, here's the mentor, the Archer mentors.
See, and just what JD said, that's exactly why out of this list, Hawkeye would be the one for me. Because I would want my Hawkeye show to be darker. Like, I want that to be violent.
Well, Ronan was pretty violent.
Well, that's what but he wasn't that violent in the movie. He was, but he wasn't.
He was the most violent of them on a straight up ground level, though, Scott. He was straight up putting swords through people.
Right, but
we had a decapitation.
How violent was he compared to Daredevil?
Not even comparable.
Not even comparable. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying.
I get you. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, that was good. We got one more to do, and then Oz will be done for the episode. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back. If you're an Uncle Oz fan, this might be the last time you hear him for the rest of the episode. We'll be right back.
Hey, Siri.
Hey, how may I help you?
Play the Relationship Status Podcast.
Playing the Relationship Status Podcast.
I would ask him, like, what are you doing? Where are you going with this? What are you trying? And he really didn't have, like, a real answer.
Okay.
So I didn't feel like we were going to be compatible later on down the line.
I think that goes back to something I've often heard and think myself, that men date women thinking they're never going to change, and women date men
thinking that
they can change them.
Relationship Status. New episode every Monday at 12 noon on Defy Life Network.
And we are back. Make sure you all definitely check out the Relationship Status Podcast. They talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of good relationship tips, and a lot of things you should be looking out for as well. Really good, interesting conversations on the Defy Life Network. JD, I got one more One's Gotta Go for you if you still want to play.
Bring it on.
All right, here we go. One of these movies has to go. Now, all of these aren't from Phase 4. One of these is from Phase 5, but it's a personal favorite of mine, so I wanted to throw it in there. One of these 4 movies will never get made. Shang-Chi, Thor, Love and Thunder, Blade or the Doctor Strange movie?
Oh, jeez. Well, that's a hard one.
Yeah, I had to get one hard one. You made the other one too easy.
So Shang-Chi, Blade, Thor, and Doctor Strange?
Yes.
I don't want to live in this world.
Jeez.
That means I did a good job. That's what I like to hear.
Thor.
Ooh, okay. What made you pick Thor?
Because it's the fourth one. And I need to know, like, I know what they're going to bring to the table, and I know I'm going to be entertained by it. But the temptation of something new is too alluring for me. Like, I need that Blade movie.
I'm with you on that, man.
Dude, can you imagine?
I'm with you on that.
And, like, the Doctor Strange I raved about its potential for 5 minutes, so I can't back out on that one.
I tried to put you in a corner on that one.
Yeah, I couldn't. I'm not that much of a hypocrite. And what was the other one?
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I raved about that one on our show. So no, I gotta go Thor just because I know what it's gonna be, and these other three movies are something different, and I want something. If push came to shove, I'd want something new.
Okay. So no quad for you. No first quad in the MCU. Fair enough. Oz.
Thor.
Wow. No quad for either one of you, huh? What's your reasoning?
Who cares? Dude, here's my little thing. I don't care about a quad. JD, thank you. What's the story going to be about? I get it. It's going to be fun. Get your popcorn, get your soda, get your Starburst, whatever you want. You know, Thin Mints, I don't care. I get it. But dude, Blade, do you hear me? Not just we get the vampires and the blood happen again, but we get I think we're going to get a different perspective on Blade. And where is Wesley going to be?
He should be Whistler.
I was just about to say that.
Dude. Can you not believe this? That would be, come on, man. Okay. All right. So
he's got to be in the movie though. Like I think we can all agree on that. He has to be in the movie.
Dude, JD, here we go. JD gives away $1 million. Okay.
That's what I do.
Yeah, man. He's got to be Whistler. What a great way. You know? Good Lord.
That would be a beautiful way to pass the mantle without.
It's just common sense,
it'd be a beautiful way to pass the mantle. I think it's great.
Yeah. That is awesome. And then Shang-Chi, dude, I've been waiting for that movie forever. Actually, instead of Kung Fu, in the 70s, they should have did that as a series, you know? Please, geez, man, you know? Yeah. And the Thor is like cool, but you know, it's all right. But I'm with all that. Thor can go.
I think this might be a first, especially when we've had a co-host on. We're all in agreement. I think Thor: Love and Thunder's got to go. And my reasoning is going to be a little differently. I wasn't too impressed with Natalie Portman in the first two movies, so I'm not as excited about her coming back. I personally wanted Thor to be in Guardians 3. I was kind of looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to the MCU getting a legit and real Mandarin with Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Yeah, you know, Iron Man 3, I didn't know a lot about Mandarin before Iron Man 3. And, you know, I kind of went and read a few things about him. And so I got really excited about the prospect. The trailers for Iron Man 3 were great as far as the setup and stuff. And then when I went and saw it, I was
totally misleading.
I was very disappointed. So I'm really looking forward to getting a legit Mandarin. And I mean, Shang-Chi, you know, we talked about this last week, Oz, on our Battleground episode. Shang-Chi is one of the best hand-to-hand, if not the best hand-to-hand fighter in the MCU, and I hope he's portrayed like that.
Yeah, he does not have any iron fists, but please, he is legit one of the best, man. I always refer back to that Secret Avengers issue. I wish I could get the number right, but they are literally fighting on a space station, and they cannot have any sort of lasers or projectile weapons. Captain America gets his team, and one of the members is Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi is just going up and down, taking out these bad guys, like literally just like taking them all out. And he has a conversation with Captain America where he's just like, Did you want me here just to be your little lackey? And Captain America's like basically saying, no, fuck you, dude. I want you here because you're an Avenger. You know? Yeah, man. Yeah. He's tough, dude. That cat is awesome. They haven't found a place for him in this whole modern Marvel, but he's awesome, dude. I still remember reading those comics and just his father was a dick and terrible person, but is awesome.
I agree. Like, there's 2 or 3 times on our show that I've gone off on my tangent on why Iron Man 3 is the worst Marvel movie. And a lot of it has to do with my disappointment in the Mandarin character and what they did with it. Like, they painted him like he was going to be Osama bin Laden. I'm like, okay, that's different. It's not from the comics, but I can live with something different. Because Ben Kingsley's a good actor. Okay, I can get in with this. And the trailers were awesome. And about 2/3 into the movie, I said, no, this can't be real.
Right.
And then it was all downhill from there. And like, it looks to me like they're going to, because they can't do Fu Manchu. Fu Manchu is Shang-Chi's father.
Yep.
But they can't do Fu Manchu in the Marvel Universe as a public domain character. A lot of yellow face association with the character.
Exactly.
But if they redo it as the Mandarin, now you're talking.
And you have a real struggle because the Mandarin is super powered with his rings, you know?
JD, you're giving away a lot of money on this show.
Oh, if I have to tell them how to do this, they're not doing their job.
Like, Scott, JD gives away $1 billion.
Right,
man.
right. And you know,
it's gonna be great.
And speaking of Iron Man 3, this is just a random thought. Did they ever explain how Pepper Potts got rid of her powers?
No.
Okay. It was just a random thought that came to my mind when we were talking about Iron Man 3 because she had powers all of a sudden, and then
absolutely,
and nobody ever brought it back up.
Oh, that was really violent. That whole scene in line, you know. Come on, man.
I was just wondering if there was an explanation for it or something because I'm still looking for it. I guess.
Well, hey, you know what? Maybe if they're going to be smart, they just say it laid dormant and it is actually in their child now, which they can make a movie about. Yeah,
maybe. JD, let me ask you, with Shang-Chi and a lot of these movies, there was no Avengers movie mentioned or even talked about in this Phase 4. And so I'm assuming we would get one or at least a team up in Phase 5. Do you think Shang-Chi and some of these newer characters that we're going to get, Jane Foster as Thor, do you think we're going to get some of those characters forming a new Avengers team? Sam Wilson as Captain America.
I could see that. The Hickman run had such a big impact on these last 2 Avengers movies. And if you actually read the comics, he had this deep, like, Legion of Superheroes style roster where it was just a ton of characters. So, in Shang-Chi and I believe Jane Foster Thor were included in that. So it would not surprise me. I mean, it only makes sense if they don't develop these characters and put them on a shelf and leave them there. You know, I would assume so. I'd assume we're going to get Shang-Chi and Blade and all that coming up in another Avengers or Avengers-like movie.
Okay. Same question.
No, I love that, JD. That makes sense. And so the next big villain that's going to have the big roster of all the Avengers will be Korvac or whatever his name was.
Oh, Korvac.
Yeah. that would be the next super big villain for those guys too. Huh. So,
is that a prediction or are you being facetious?
Well, I mean, he was. If you remember that whole series and run they did with him, he was crazy powerful and was literally like fucking them up bad, you know. And they could play out all those new Avengers and everything too, you know. So it's that maybe he's a forgotten guy. I would doubt if they bring him back, you know. So. But it would be very cool and interesting if they did.
Okay. Kevin Feige also talked about mutants, Fantastic Four. JD, I've heard you on the show. I know you're excited about the Fantastic Four, the first family being brought to the MCU. Do you think that the Scarlet Witch, the Doctor Strange movie with Scarlet Witch, do you think that is going to be kind of the gateway to getting the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and mutants in general?
Hadn't considered it till you just said it. But if you're playing, so I've been wondering this is how they were going to bring the X-Men and the Fantastic Four into, like, how are they going to fold them into the Marvel universe?
Right.
Because all these people have powers on Earth. Why are mutants a thing? That's always bugged me about the real Marvel universe. And I've always maintained the Fantastic Four work better as adventurers more so than superheroes.
Right.
Ooh, I actually like that. If they were to have some type of a wink and a nod or something, I would be on board with that.
That's kind of been my working theory with, as far as like with the multiverse and Scarlet Witch. Because I agree with you with the WandaVision. I think it's going to be all kind of figments of her imagination and a world she's created to make herself comfortable. And I've always said that she's one of, if not the most powerful character in Marvel, because she can just speak things in and out of existence. So it wouldn't be too much of a stretch. Well, for me, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to have her kind of be the gateway to mutants, to Fantastic Four, to this entire new side of the Marvel-verse that we haven't had in the MCU yet.
Yeah, smart. I like that. Yeah.
So we just giving away money on this show, is what it seems.
Oh,
like.
I absolutely. But so I have a question now. So for our esteemed guest, so JD,
yeah,
like, man, Regular Scott says it all the time, and I will butcher both their names. Maybe not her name, but what do you think about the potential for the new Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman being Emily Blunt and her husband
John Krasinski?
Do you like that?
I'm on board with it.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard John Krasinski as Reed Richards, my thought was, what? Come on. But the more I'm thinking about it, and then I saw A Quiet Place,
Great
and
movie.
I went, you know what? This could work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they actually do have a good, as a real life husband and wife, they have a really cool dynamic on screen. I think it could work. Like, I think they're the right age. I think the Fantastic Four characters work if they're a little bit older. So I'm on board with that. I hope it happens.
Yeah, and I really like what you said too. And for me, the Fantastic Four works best when they're seen as because what they were originally were adventurers, and they're the first family.
Yeah.
So really get back into that, and really start getting some geeky shit. Have the Baxter Building be the tripped out crazy thing that it's supposed to be.
As Kirby-esque as possible. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, don't go into that room because you can go into the negative zone that way. So that kind of really crazy part of it,
Yeah, I'd be on board with that completely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Part of me was thinking that in the latest Spider-Man movie that the Stark Tower, Avengers Tower, was going to get turned into the Baxter Building.
Oh.
It didn't happen, but that's what I was thinking was going to happen, because wasn't there construction being done on the building during the movie?
I believe so.
And that's what I was thinking, but then I kind of maybe it's Oscorp, so maybe they're bringing him in, but I was kind of hoping that would be just a subtle nod to a Baxter Building, because I'm thinking the next movie he needs a lawyer, so She-Hulk or Matt Murdock would be the perfect fit for that if they want to do that.
But you kind of just gave all that away, Regular Scott. Well, think about what you just said. It's under construction. Tony Stark is dead. Of course, they're turning that into Osborn.
Yeah, I know. I can wish though.
You gave that up right there. Of course, it makes sense, and it will bleed into the next one for it. Man, those glasses are kind of nice though. I gotta say.
JD, what did you think of the latest Spider-Man movie?
Loved it.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it.
I did too.
I think Tom Holland totally captures specifically the Brian Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man, because that's the teenage Spider-Man I have the closest touchstone to, more so than the Ramita or Ditko stuff. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy these Spider-Man movies. They're John Hughes films with superheroes.
Well, then, hey, JD, we have to get into it right now. Then let's go. So, who is your favorite Spider-Man?
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, like
I know who my favorite Spider-Man is.
From the movies?
Who is your favorite Spider-Man? Between Tom
Holland.
Thank you.
I didn't say he wasn't good. All I said was Andrew Garfield did a really good job as Spider-Man.
Andrew Garfield did do a good job. He is not the problem with those movies.
Exactly. He's not.
I know.
Okay, well you trying to set me up and stuff, man. See, that's why you laughing.
No, wait, hold on, wait. Regular Scott, I'm not setting you up. I just like clarity. That's all.
Yeah, okay. What were you about to say, JD?
No, I was saying he's not the issue. Like, I thought that Andrew Garfield does a fine job for what he's asked to do and the material he's given to work with. Like, there's deeper problems with the
Wait, hold on. JD, what do you mean you didn't like Rhino in that movie?
Come on, man. Or Jamie
Foxx. With Electro. You have Jamie Foxx as Electro, and you give him the same character motivation as Jim Carrey's Riddler. Like
turds.
Yeah,
hey, that's a great analogy right there. It's a great comparison.
It's the same. He's got the exact same character motivation, and you've got a really good actor that's chewing on scenery for no reason. It's like you're capable of doing something better, but they're not. Like, I don't know, man. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is one of the more disappointing superhero movies I've ever seen.
Especially since they tried to make it really emotional with Gwen Stacy's death and whatnot, you know? Like, they tried to put the emotional punch into it, and it's almost like once he became Electro, he became emotionless.
Yeah.
You know? He didn't even get to act.
He had no character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's a caricature the whole time. And there's too much going on. You've got Electro, you've got the Rhino, then there's this Green Goblin thing.
Gwen's death, everything, dude.
It didn't. I mean, like, they were trying to do too much with too little. Except for it was the same problems that happened in Spider-Man 3.
Right.
There's just too much to make a coherent story.
And I told Oz this on one of the shows. They were too busy trying to set up the Sinister Six with Amazing 100%. Spider-Man 2 instead of making a good sequel to Amazing Spider-Man 2.
100%. Sony is they're so bad about that. Like, they're just, Sony specifically is just all about how they can milk this property to death.
Right.
Where they had to give it back to Marvel. And they're still trying. We have a Venom movie, and we're going to get a Morbius movie that nobody wants. Like,
and you know, that's a great, I'm glad you brought that up. Who asked, and who wanted a Morbius movie? Like, when you talk about Morbius, most people don't even know what character he's from.
Yeah, but he's the flavor. He's the flavor. He's the perfect flavor.
He was the flavor 10 years ago.
Well, hold on. But listen. For now, though, think about it. There's Spider-Man. There's vampires. Those two. Like, everybody, the people who don't even like comics are like, oh, what? There's a vampire? They'll go see it. You know.
I don't know.
Then there's It's stupid. It's very. I personally never liked that character anyway. So
it's not a great character. Like, there's so many. Like, you got Blade. Like, if you want to, like,
right
in a world where there's going to be another Blade movie, why do I care about Morbius? Like, I don't.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. Like, even in the animated series where they make even the worst villains seem relevant, he is probably the most forgotten villain in the Spider-Man animation.
Dude, no one even cares about that cat, dude.
No.
He's the man bat of the Marvel universe.
That might be giving him a little too much credit.
So
I think Man-Bat has potential.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's giving him too much credit.
Yeah.
And let's not even get started on. You know, Jared Leto is going to overact that movie anyway.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely going to overact it.
That fucking Joker, dude. God.
I didn't hate the Joker.
Why did the Joker have gold fronts?
You bring that up every time. You bring that. It's like the first thing you bring up.
Man, this guy, dude. Because he look, man. That guy had to be like Mr. Talker. I'm crazy. The real Joker, you'd be in a room with that dude and he wouldn't say a word, and you'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm peeing on myself." Whatever. So
yeah, he wasn't scary as the Joker.
No, he was a dude who had a bunch of guns.
Yeah,
and knives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to tear up Suicide Squad. I'll be on that all day.
Well, because here it goes. You put Heath Ledger's Joker and Jared Leto's Joker in the room.
Not even close.
You know who's coming out. Okay,
right?
Not even close. Not even a comparison.
Dude, you put Jared Leto's Joker with Sid Caesar's Joker from Batman from Adam West, and you know who's coming out. Okay,
with the makeup mustache, with the mustache covered in makeup.
Dude, I'm just saying. Okay.
Oh man, all right, touche. So, Oz, real quick, you got anything else you want to say before we?
Maybe.
before we talk a little wrestling.
Right, Sky. You wanna give me my final blow right now?
Maybe. You might be able to chime in every now and then. You might recognize some names, possibly. Maybe. I doubt it, but there's a chance.
Hey, listen. I'm gonna listen, and don't worry, Uncle Oz. Ozzy Killmonger still has some secret to do.
All right. Well, hey, look, we'll find out. So,
but I'm gonna say this. All jokes aside, and being dead serious, you guys bum me out with all these wrestlers who I grew up with who are dead. That is terrible.
We bummed you out.
It's depressing.
Yeah, it is depressing, and you kept bringing them up one by one.
Dude, I have a autograph. You don't know this, regular Scott. So our one of my friends who lives like when we were growing up, regular stuff for our house. I got an autographed picture of was it Nikita Koloff?
Oh, I love Nikita Koloff.
I have an autographed picture of Nikita Koloff that I had since like 85, 86. Okay.
I named my dog after Nikita Koloff.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's crazy. What a coincidence.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like that is cool.
JD, that's awesome.
That is
true
cool.
Story.
That is cool, man. So while we're on wrestling, JD, just what are your thoughts on AEW and how big of an impact do you think they're really going to make on TNT?
I'm really excited. I mean, like as we've gone back and forth on Twitter numerous times, I'm excited for AEW mainly because I'm tired of Vince McMahon's version of what pro wrestling should be. And this isn't new for me as I go through like cycles where I'm really into WWE and then I hate it. And I've been doing this my entire fandom going back to 1990, where I'll just be super into WWE and then I'm like, man, I'm tired of all this. And like when I was a bigger WWF fan at the end of the Monday Night Wars than I was a WCW fan. I was all in on WCW until the Sting thing, until they botched Sting Hogan at Starrcade 97.
Wait. So JD, what do you mean by that? Like when like they made Sting a bad guy, or
no? Here's what happened. The NWO is probably the greatest like wrestling angle in history. Like
New World Order.
The New World Order. They did this thing where they're basically all stars from the WWF were invading WCW and they were slowly taking over the company. And they thought Sting might have been one of them, and Sting couldn't trust anybody. So for one solid year, Sting changed his look. He looked like the Crow. He sat in rafters. He didn't talk to anybody. For one year, they built up him versus Hulk Hogan.
One of the greatest
builds.
Starrcade
97. Yes. And you get to the match, and it's freaking terrible. It's one of the worst matches.
Like, they don't even put Sting over. Like, he wins the match without getting put over.
Right. Like, and they bring Bret Hart out, who at this time is the hottest babyface in the world coming off the Montreal thing. And it made no sense. And then 2 months later, Hulk Hogan has the title back. So you spend a whole year building up this great superhero to take down this massive army, and it just they screwed it up. So at that point, I was all about WWF because like they dropped the ball. But when WCW closed down, the alternative was gone. And TNA had its moments, but they couldn't get out of their own way long enough to really be not even competition. I'm not looking for competition. I'm just looking for something different. I'm looking for something that'll scratch a different urge to me. And I think that's what we have with AEW is we're getting a different interpretation of what pro wrestling can be. Like Cody Rhodes seems to be the guy who's going to be the big creative force behind this. And I like what I see from him. He's Dusty's kid. I liked Dusty's vision of professional wrestling. Like I like the WA from the 80s.
Is Dusty still okay?
No, Dusty died.
Yeah, he's dead too.
Actually, the entire reason actually it's funny, the entire reason AEW is happening is because Dusty Rhodes passed away. Like
so now you forget. I'm the layman here. Break me down for what this is. It a new? Is it a new branch or just a new thing?
I will nerd this up as much as possible. 3-4 years ago, Dusty Rhodes passed away. At the time, his son Cody was doing a really corny gimmick called Stardust. He had this paint on. He dressed like Mr. Sinister, basically. And after Dusty died, Cody wanted to go back to being Cody Rhodes. And Vince McMahon's like, nope, this is how I see you. So Cody Rhodes leaves the WWE and becomes this independent, this long journeyed independent wrestler where he's having matches across the globe and rebuilding his brand on the indie scale. But he's doing a great job of it. He gets hooked up with this tag team called the Young Bucks. They're two, let's be real, they're two very skinny guys that are super charismatic, and they wrestle like their style of wrestling is like, it's kind of like the Rock and Roll Express with a wink and a nod. Mm-hmm. Like, but they're super popular independently. Like they make a fortune selling their T-shirts.
Okay.
Like these guys are literally millionaires, and they've never been in WWE, and it's all because of their merchandise.
They're great
businessmen. They
businessmen.
built up their brand and everything.
Yeah, they're great businessmen.
Genius. So then they get hooked up with this dude named Kenny Omega, who's only been in Japan. He's a Canadian guy. Fantastic matches, like a lot of video game inspirations for the stuff he does. They become fast friends in New Japan, and then a fan named Tony Khan, his father is Shad Khan, owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep, he decides I'm going to create my own wrestling company. Yeah. And these four guys are the building blocks of All Elite Wrestling, and they're not trying to
All Elite Wrestling. Okay,
yes,
AEW.
They put on their own independent show last year in Chicago, the biggest independent show ever. I was lucky enough to be in the arena at the time.
Oh, you went to it?
Yeah, I live in Chicago, so it was I jumped on it. It was awesome. And so these guys are kind of putting together the best of independent wrestling, not to challenge the WWE, but to do an alternative on a mainstream scale. And it's always had a huge impact by the fact that there are guys that 5 years ago the WWE would let go of because they didn't have anything to do with. Now they're not letting go of those guys, but they're doubling their salaries. There's guys that don't have major programs that are making $500,000 a year to not leave.
Wow. Okay.
So the impact of AEW has already been felt. Like, and it's a good time to be a professional wrestler because their market value has been driven up exponentially.
No doubt. That's all very true, and like
that's awesome.
And what you said about WCW, man, like your thing was Sting. Mine was, what kind of got me into wrestling was Goldberg, his streak, and because I was a little kid, so watching somebody go on this 150 win streak was just incredible, and then the way he lost to Kevin Nash, and then to watch Hogan, which seems to be the common theme, is Hogan. Do the finger poke of doom. And, that pretty much sent me away from wrestling until Shelton Benjamin beat Triple H on the first night of the draft. Like that was the next time I watched wrestling after that finger poke of doom.
Oh, it was one of the worst. Like WCW, they had this great NWO angle, but they wouldn't let it end. They were afraid to move on from it. So you kept getting these recycled, watered down versions of it. And that finger poke of doom thing, it could have been interesting, but it just wasn't. Like it came off really stupid and it insulted an audience's intelligence. And I believe it's the same night that Mick Foley wins the WWF title on the other channel.
It was.
So that's
and they gave that away. They gave that as a spoiler.
Oh yeah. I was a freshman in college when that happened, and I remember we had 2 TVs in my dorm room, specifically so we could have both Nitro and Raw on at the same time, and we could turn the volume up on whatever show was good. Like,
the common theme was that Hulk Hogan was kind of like, I mean, he was kind of a cancer everywhere he went. Like, it had to be about him. He had to be the center of attention, and
but he's still riding off of like Hulkamania and body slamming Andre the Giant. So he became this kind of demigod for wrestling.
For sure. You know? And he played these like Game of Thrones style political machinations to make sure that he was constantly on top, even when it was bad for the business.
All the time. Even in TNA, like you were talking about.
Even in TNA.
Like,
I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, JD, but I'm going to tell you, I really got turned off from wrestling when Hulk Hogan became like a bad guy, you know?
That was the NWO.
And that's why I was just like, ugh.
So you got turned off by one of the best angles, and because that was when wrestling really started kind of picking up, was when he turned
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you right now, 1995 is the worst year of professional wrestling. WCW is giving you the stupid Kevin Sullivan angle with all these monsters trying to fight Hulk Hogan like 10 years after it was cool. You turn the other channel, WWE, and everyone's got this side job. You have evil dentists and Razz car drivers, and it's bad. 1995 is a very bad year in pro wrestling. The NWO angle in 96 is really what got people interested in wrestling again.
Okay.
Like, I was one of those guys that I loved it when Hogan turned villain, because I didn't like the guy anyway, and now I had a reason.
Well, but through all this though, so Vince McMahon is definitely a billionaire, and his kids.
For sure.
Okay, so and now, do you think that he is nervous from this all elite, you know?
I don't know if nervous is the term I would use, but he got blindsided when WCW got so good so quick in the mid-90s. So he's definitely shoring up right now. And I think he's on his game more, because they're making moves now this year they wouldn't have made a year ago. Like, because when you really look at it, WWE business is not as strong as it probably should be. Their TV ratings are down. The house show attendance is down. Merchandise is down. And it's really because I'll say this because I don't really like the product. I think he's asleep at the wheel. You know, he's just kind of doing what he thinks is the right thing and not really listening to an audience.
So you're thinking he's just like on cruise control, but don't his kids kind of run the business now?
No. You meant to think that. Triple H should be running the business. Triple H has his own feeder system for WWE called NXT. That's far and away the best thing the company does. I think regular Scott can agree with me on that.
Yeah, and I do agree, and it's presented as I think what Vince McMahon, when it became big, and to me, was he created these characters, and he still believes that that's more people nowadays seem to want the sport of it instead of the characters of it. I think that's why All Elite,
right,
like you said, is going to do well. Go ahead, JD.
It will. Like, I think that all art is either an influence of or rejection to what came before it. And because Vince has been on top for so long with his style of what pro wrestling is, which is the very character-driven stuff, there's just an audience of people that do want to see the opposite.
Yes.
Like, because WCW had its issues, but I mean, like the NWA and like the UWF Mid-South in the 80s were better products than the WWE that were brought down by a lot of times circumstances beyond their control or just, poor spending. Vince had a better understanding of business in general, not necessarily the wrestling business. And he won out. But I mean, like, when in 1985, the year WrestleMania, the year the boom of pro wrestling, the first boom, the number one rated show in cable television is Mid-South Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't WWE. Like, they didn't have the best product. They had the most successful. So I'm looking forward to someone doing something different, and I just hope it's good.
And I think that's
I was busy watching Glow, by the way.
I'm sure. And I think that's what New Japan, and I think which was kind of, to me, which is the precursor to AEW. And New Japan,
For sure.
And New Japan is something that I've just recently, probably in the last maybe two years or so, really gotten into. And a big part of that has been the G1, which has been going on. And I like, WrestleMania has always been my favorite time of year as far as being a wrestling fan. You know, from the Royal Rumble on, that has been just because you know, there would always be a surprise. There would always be a big comeback. There was always going to be a match that you probably haven't seen before. But the G1 these last couple of years, man, has really, or I know I'm late to the game, but has really just been blowing me away. Like, there's always, every night there's a match that could easily be match of the year. Every night.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yeah. For
both of you, again, because I'm a layman just trying to figure things out. Let's just say layperson to be PC. So, are you guys? Am I hearing this right? I probably am not. Are you saying that this whole elite new thing is that? Do you think that's a response because people want to see more MMA style stuff and not the whole costume, or they just want to see athleticism, or I don't know. Can you guys explain that a little bit more?
I wouldn't say MMA style wrestling because like we have MMA.
Right.
What Scott's saying is sports based is WWE is very soap opera. Like the match is oftentimes the least important part of WWE. What AEW is going to do, which they're going to be an influence from New Japan, is the storytelling is really done in the match.
Exactly.
Like New Japan is different. Like you don't really have good guys and bad guys in New Japan. You have just athletes, and they have moments and they're all a little different. Like there's things you can like about them, there's things you can hate about them, and the crowd just gets into the moment. Like this G1 has been great.
Excellent.
But I mean, other than I'm trying to think of like a straight villain in New Japan.
Maybe Jay White.
Yeah, Jay White would be the one I would say. Jay White is probably the only one. Yeah, especially because Gato turned. Yeah. Jay White is the only one I would say that's a villain. Like Naito can be a dick, but you love it.
People love Naito. Maybe
New
Tai
Japan,
Chi. What about Tai Chi, right?
Oh yeah, nobody likes Tai Chi. Tai Chi sucks. Yeah, Tai Chi's that's true. Tai Chi's a villain. New Japan is Japan's answer to the WWE. It's the number one country, number one wrestling promotion in Japan, and it's a place where a lot of American wrestlers have gone for years to make a good living. AJ Styles, who's really big in WWE, had his career resurgence and became super popular because of his work in New Japan.
Absolutely.
Like that's not Nick Foley. Is that right? Nick Foley was never Mick Foley. He was never New Japan, but he started and got his kind of rise in Japan kind of stuff, right?
He did like a deathmatch wrestling is a subset of like, because we talk about wrestling here in the U.S. like WWE is soapy. AEW is going to be more athletic. Well, in Japan, New Japan and All Japan were very, very sports based. So their indie leagues are nuts. Like you'll have a company like DDT, which is just insane. Like I can't even begin to describe it. Then there's a deathmatch subculture in Japan, which is, I don't really like deathmatch stuff. It's dudes throwing themselves through like light tubes and like hurting themselves, and I don't.
Yeah.
That's where Mick Foley's there's a lot of famous Mick Foley stuff that came from the deathmatch subculture of Japan. Not really my thing.
Well, it feels like the deathmatch stuff is kind of like that backyard wrestling, kind of breaking chairs and that kind of stuff.
Very much.
You know?
Yeah,
very
much.
much.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah, but New Japan is Japan's version of WWE. It's very much based on who the personalities are. Like, and you don't have to have good guys or bad guys, because Okada is the number one guy in New Japan. He gets booed a lot depending on the crowd. Like,
and who he's facing as well.
And 100% who he's facing. Like, he was wrestling Will Ospreay the other night, and the crowd wanted Ospreay to win.
What a match, by the way, while you bring that up.
Fantastic.
What a match.
Fantastic. So like this for people who don't know, the G1 is a yearly New Japan. Like G1 time is like playoff season.
Okay.
This is the playoffs. You have 20 dudes, 10 guys in 2 different blocks, and it's like a round robin tournament. So everybody wrestles everybody in their block. And the 2 dudes that win the block will come at each other on the final night, and the winner receives a title shot at Wrestle Kingdom, which is their WrestleMania show the first weekend in January. So this is literally these guys are the concept is they're fighting to get a title shot at the biggest show of the year.
And one of my favorite guys is John Moxley. He's just amazing too.
Oh. Hold on. You know who John Moxley is?
Oh, dude, man, I didn't want to tell you, regular Scott, but I kind of been following the G1. I just wanted to be a surprise. Now I will tell you though, man,
you blew me away.
I'm kidding. I just looked him up. I just looked him up.
Hey, well, that's funny you mentioned that because actually John Moxley is one of the reasons why this particular G1 has kind of gotten a little bit more exposure because he's a big free agent. Well, he's not really a free agent anymore, but he's a big get from WWE.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he's one of the top guys.
Yeah, he was a former world. His name was Dean Ambrose in WWE. He was
Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, he was big time over there, and he just left WWE in February, and then he's going to be part of this new AEW thing. And while they're waiting for this company to start in October, he's working in New Japan and doing the G1, and he's brought a lot of American eyes to the G1 tournament this year.
That is awesome. That's okay.
It's got a. And one of the we've been talking about what's kind of separating New Japan, and I hope AEW's saying the right things, and we'll see how it actually plays out. But
yeah,
one of the things that what separates them from WWE is there are real consequences for wins and losses. Like he's saying, this whole tournament is about fighting for a championship. You're fighting to get to the biggest match. Like there's a reason for this tournament. They're not just having a tournament. They're not just having matches just to have them. If you lose a match, you're not going to get to move up and face somebody better the next week. Not this tournament talking in particular, but just in New Japan in general. When you beat somebody big, you move on up. And that's why some of these guys who are in the tournament who have been kind of in the lower division, like a Will Ospreay. Like that's part of why I think that the crowd was so into him is because they want to see him move up in divisions. They want to see him start competing and winning these heavyweight matches.
And that's been the story of this particular G1 is you have Jay White, who's the former champion, who's 1-3 to start the tournament, while Kenta, this dude who was in WWE, never got his career going, came from the Japanese Indies, just showed up out of nowhere, and he's 4-0. So New Japan, like you're getting these different kind of stories. You got this main bad guy who can't get his rhythm going, and this dude basically Kenta's on his last shot. Like this is his last run at trying to be great.
Yep.
So you're telling 20 different stories in the confines of this 6 week tournament.
And even kind of the same thing with Kota Ibushi. He was a favorite going in, and he kind of started off slow. And he's somebody that, a lot of, even myself included, like he's my pick to win the G1. Like go ahead.
I'm sorry. But just 2 things real quick. Who is Tomohiro Ishii?
Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
He's a beast.
And then tell me, who the hell is Juice Robinson?
Juice,
another guy from WWE.
Yeah, Juice is from my hometown, actually. Juice was a guy who NXT guy who never quite got his thing going over there. Went to Japan, actually did the dojo over there, trained, not just wrestled, but went through their training system, and became this new character of Juice Robinson. And he's big, not huge, but he's big in Japan, super popular with the female fans, and his incredible promo. That's the big difference between New Japan and WWE is in WWE, what you say on camera, someone wrote that for you. Like they have scripts they have to follow.
Yes.
In New Japan, they're saying what's on their mind.
Oh, whoa, okay.
And JD, I think that kind of separates a lot of some of these wrestlers who come from America to New Japan. I think that's an advantage that they have. Is even though in WWE they were scripted, they seem more natural as far as cutting promos, and like with Juice Robinson and even John Moxley has just been killing it with some of his post-match promos.
100%. I agree with you. That said, because I don't speak Japanese, I can't tell you
that's fair.
How their promos are coming off, because like if you read some of the Japanese guys, then what they write, like Naito's promos go over huge.
That's fair. That's a good point.
He's got this I don't give a shit attitude.
Tanahashi as well.
Oh yeah, Tanahashi's John Cena. Yeah, Tanahashi. He's a Captain New Japan. He's when the company almost broke in the early part of the 2000s. They went to Tanahashi. They made Tanahashi their ace, and the person I would compare him to is John Cena.
That's a really good comparison, and that would be a great
squeaky
match.
Clean babyface. That's the Tanahashi.
Now I have another question.
Hey Oz, here's a comparison that you would get. Tanahashi would be like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh yeah,
100%. He's a good dude and good looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's always been a good guy. As far as I know, he's always been a good guy.
No, yes.
So can either one of you two esteemed gentlemen please explain to me what the Pimp Juice DDT is?
That would be one of Juice's moves.
Okay. Thank you.
Japan is different. It's a different place, man.
The Pimp Juice DDT.
I hear someone got pinned with the Pimp Juice DDT. So, curious about that.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of all that, Jay, and we talked about this earlier when we talked about Aubrey. JD on his show, Superhero Speak, they interviewed the guy who wrote the comic book story of professional wrestling, where he puts the entire history of wrestling into comic book form. And I know you're a comic connoisseur, so I'll let you borrow this next time I see you. But it's a really good kind of history.
You told me you
lesson.
love it.
No, I do love it, and I just read it again the other day because I was listening to their interview with him, and it does a really good job of filling in blanks. Like there's spots that I didn't know. And there's a lot of older stuff that I just had no idea about. And like some of the influences of British wrestling and, how shoot wrestling really played a part, in some of the things that would come later, like the Montreal Screwjob, which was brought up with Bret Hart. And there's just a whole lot of things that just add on to each other. JD, how was it, interviewing him, and what kind of things did he kind of talk about as far as his influences making that book?
Interviewing your friends is always great, and Aubrey's a good dude. He had a great podcast called Straight Shoot about pro wrestling that was fantastic, and we're pretty like-minded guys. He's a comic creator, and he didn't talk about influences so much as he talked about why he wanted to do this story and why he felt he was the perfect guy for it. And he really was, because he has a good fundamental understanding of the business. But what Aubrey gets more than anything is what pro wrestling is at its heart, and it's a con. Yeah. Pro wrestling was created to scam people, and it's a business run. To this day, it's a business run by people with carny instincts. Like we talked about Hulk Hogan and his political machinations. That he didn't come up with that. Like that's how you made it in the wrestling business. That's how promoters dealt with people. That's how pro wrestlers dealt with friends and family. Like you protected when they say the phrase "protect the business," that means don't tell anybody what we do isn't real.
Right.
Like they're people that went to their deaths protecting the image of professional wrestling. Yeah, and Aubrey understands that. He writes about wrestling in a way that never forgets the carny roots. And I think that's important because people, too often we talk about things like they're on the level, but you can't talk about, in wrestling, you can't say, well, this guy would beat this guy. Because it doesn't matter. Like it's a work. It's a con.
It's the seed underneath the walnut shells.
Right. And every bit of pro wrestling is that. Like if you're reading pro wrestling history, there's a good chance that 40 to 50% of what you're reading is complete crap.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's like you were talking about Ric Flair. Like he lived his gimmick outside of outside of the wrestling. He lived his gimmick. Like that was his gimmick.
Yeah,
the Nature Boy. Yeah,
Boy.
He is him. That is what he does. He is a guy that lives his own gimmick. But I mean, like at the same time, the other side of the coin, the WWE World Title to this day on its Wikipedia page will tell you that Buddy Rogers beat Antonio Rocca in a tournament in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That's crap. That never happened. They gave him the belt and created this tournament to say, oh, this is our legitimacy. The truth was the NWA wanted to give the belt back to Thez, and Vince Sr. thought that Buddy Rogers was a better draw. So he made Buddy Rogers the world champion in his territory. But you can't just say, oh, well, he's the champion now. No, you have to create this aura around it. Because we love being lied to. Like pro wrestling, you have to, it's like going to the movies. Like, and if you, first thing you say when you watch pro wrestling is like, it's all fake. You don't get it. Of course it is.
And
you want.
Go ahead, Oz.
I think it's just a natural human thing to want to escape your environment for a little bit. And, it's a two for one. You get to escape your environment and you get told a good story that you feel like you're interacting with.
100%. And it's like the difference with pro wrestling and other forms of entertainment is the con is always there. Everyone goes to a movie and you know that you're watching a movie. You go to a wrestling show. Everyone knows that what's happening is a performance, but you get caught up in the moment. But at the same time, you go, did that really hurt? Are those guys really upset with each other in this moment?
Those are the best.
I do want to say the other side of that too. It's a little bit. There's a little bit of the pro wrestling game. There's a little bit of the NASCAR effect too. Is like you want to you're like, yeah, I understand it's fake, but I want to see if there's going to be an explosion or something, or I want to see if someone actually does get hurt. There's a little factor of that in there too.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm not a NASCAR guy, but I can totally see where you're coming from.
Because like people are like, oh my god, no, I love the fast cars. But you're like, yeah, but you kind of want to see some crazy shit go off too, though. You know,
I think that's a big another big part of it is, one of the things that you JD that y'all talked about when your interview was comic books and being a comic book fan just kind of goes hand in hand with being a wrestling fan. It blends so well because what you're seeing isn't 100% real, but you're wondering what are their real feelings with each other? Because you hear stories about these two wrestlers don't like each other, or they have quote unquote heat, which is they don't like each other in quote unquote real life. So you want like you're saying with the NASCAR thing, you want to see what's going to happen with this, and I think some of the best angles in recently, at least as far as WWE, have used social media. Perfect example, like Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they did a great job using social media to hype up their feud and their WrestleMania main event. I thought they did a great job kind of blurring the lines as far as what you thought was real and what you didn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Like you have this device at your hands that you can constantly be working your gimmick, because you have to do it to get pro wrestlers are paid by how many people go watch them perform.
Mm-hmm.
Since the dawn of time, since the dawn of pro wrestling, that's what it is. You got butts in the seats, you're getting paid well. And then I know there's like the Wade Kellers of the world that don't like when the performers mix their personal and private lives. And I disagree with that. I think that's what makes it work, is because you don't know where the work ends and where it begins.
Mm-hmm. The lines get blurred.
Right, and that's what makes it work, is because you go, like, I know for a fact Ronda and Becky were probably not as heated as they came up on social media, but I didn't know that. Right. Like, I'm not sure how much of it is real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's there, and I'm a big fan of, and this is why I get upset with the WWE product so much. It's because it's so like what we see on TV is so sanitized and homogenized, and everything is run through a fine-tooth comb. When these people get on social media, it can be themselves, is when stuff gets interesting. Mm-hmm. Like when Becky and Ronda are arguing on social media and Becky's owning her, like, and she's getting frustrated, that's so much more entertaining than any promo they ever cut in the ring. Because
You're right.
It's two people that are being themselves. And I would much rather watch a personality than a bad actor, which is what unfortunately a lot happens in WWE.
And that I think, and what you said is right. And I think that added to some of the beatdowns that Ronda would give to Becky in the ring is because it would come after those interactions online.
Yeah.
And you would see Ronda kind of laying into her a little bit more with the shots, and you're like, oh, is she going legit on her? You know what I mean? Even though in the back of your head she's not, you're thinking like maybe she's laying in a little bit harder with some of these shots. You know what I mean?
Right. Because Becky's probably like, man, lay it in, make it look good,
right,
just beat my ass. And you're watching this going, man, she's having a good time punching her in the face.
Exactly.
And that's when pro wrestling is at its best, is when you can when you start second guessing. When I watch AEW has this great young heel named MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He comes down to the ring and he just eviscerates the audience. He is such a dick. He's so good at it.
Great talker,
and it's unbelievable talker. In this day and age, the bad guys usually get cheered because people respect how hard they're working to be bad. We enjoy watching a good bad guy. Nobody likes watching MJF. I respect the man for his work, but I will damn sure boo him if I'm in the building.
Absolutely. He's somebody you want to see get his.
Yeah, because he's completely unlikable. There's no redeeming qualities to him. Even on social media, he's on it all the time. He's just on his game. He never, ever, ever breaks character. And to the point where, I don't think that is a character. I think he actually is a dick. And he just found a perfect outlet.
And I agree. And that's why the one criticism so far, well, I've had a couple, but the one main thing I've had with AEW is I did not like. This is kind of going into a specific thing, but I wasn't a fan of him coming out when Cody Rhodes took that chair shot.
Now here's what I liked about it is because they I don't know if you caught what they did in AAA. Cody and MJF had a tag team match in AAA where Cody's out there being the good guy, and when he's not looking, MJF's being a dick. But he turns around, he's high-fiving and thumbs up. It's almost like it reminds me a little bit of Sting and Luger when they were a tag team and Luger was a villain, but Sting wasn't quite sure that Luger was a villain. Okay. I think they're eventually building to when MJF turns on Cody.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's what they're doing, it makes sense.
I think that's where they're building to it because everyone's aware that MJF is a prick, but Cody doesn't seem to be aware of it yet. So I think that's where it's headed. And Cody has moments too where he's not. Cody Rhodes has said, "I don't believe in traditional faces and heels."
And you know what? I disagree. I get it, but I think that's when you get your best reactions, though.
I don't disagree with you, but I mean, I think what he's going. I think this is where it goes back to. I think they're trying to capture that New Japan spirit because, like I said before, New Japan really doesn't have traditional faces and heels, with a few exceptions. Nobody likes Tai Chi, nobody likes Jay White, but. There's a lot. Everyone else kind of bobs and weaves in and out of that, and I agree with you. The best U.S. style pro wrestling is when you have a baby face that you can sympathize with and a heel that you hate.
I think that's the best reactions. Just reaction wise.
Yeah, I agree, but I also last night watched a 30-minute match with Ospreay and Okada, and no one's really the villain. So I think that pro wrestling can be anything, and I think the AEW. There's a lot of criticism going on right now, but I'm absolving them a lot of it because they don't have an identity yet. And I think they're really finding themselves. If you go back and watch WWE from 1985, it sucks. A lot of that stuff is really hard to watch. But by 87, they've got it figured out. They've got their formula. By WrestleMania 3, that era of WWE is really kicking on full steam. It really, really works because they figured out their lane. I love early 90s WCW because I grew up with it. It's very hard to go back and it's very hard to look back on. Very, very difficult. But by 96, 97, man, they figured it out. They got their identity. And I think AEW, I'm going to give them time to find their identity because it is brand new.
It is. And one of the things that as far as wrestling quality, I don't think that'll ever be an issue with that company because they let the wrestlers wrestle. So I don't think that'll ever be an issue.
Work rate. Yeah.
But the one thing I do worry about, which is kind of so far happening, and I get it, they are the bigger names. I worry about them putting themselves over or winning all their matches too often. As far as the elite crew.
Cody hasn't won yet.
Well,
he only beat his brother. He had a draw with Darby Allin. They lost to the Young Bucks.
But they've only lost to other members of the Elite.
Okay, fair enough. Darby Allin's not.
Well, Darby, not Darby, but he didn't lose to Darby either.
No, but Darby Allin became a bigger star. Darby Allin became big, pushing Cody to the limit. That Rocky story.
That's true. That's true. That is true.
Kenny lost to Jericho on that first show, and he ain't beating Moxley. Come all out, because Moxley's their biggest star. I think the Young Bucks you got an argument with. Like, at some point, somebody's got to beat the Young Bucks, but I got a feeling they're going to. Prediction: they'll get to the finals of the tag team tournament and they'll lose to.
Oh wow, that's a bold prediction. See,
that's my prediction.
They would be a team I would be okay with them being the first tag team, because I would be okay with them establishing the tag division. But I don't, and I want Hangman Page. I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself, because I want Hangman Page to be the first champion.
He's not gonna.
So you think Jericho's gonna do it?
It's got to be Jericho. When that show shows up in October, you want a familiar face. And Chris Jericho has so much accrued interest. Like, he's a star. From wrestling, from television, from music. Chris Jericho's a legitimate star. And you're going to want him. And I think that the Pac bailing out of the Double or Nothing match really hurt MJF, because he has not had – I'm sorry, really hurt Page. He has not had a chance to really get going. Like, I'm a fan. That Double or Nothing Battle Royal was an abomination and did nothing to make him look like a star. He got lost in the 4-way at Fyter Fest. Like, he won the match, but Jungle Boy was what everybody came out talking about, you know? And then this match with Kip Sabian. You're telling me this guy's supposed to beat Chris Jericho, but he goes 20 minutes with Kip Sabian?
He does need that big one-on-one defining, clean, decisive win.
What they need to do with Page is he needs to be Magnum TA. Magnum TA was the dude who came up, and he had to fight his way to get to the top. And Magnum TA would have been a multiple-time world champion had he not had a horrendous car accident that left him crippled.
Right.
But I mean, that's who Hangman Page has to be. Like, he can't come in and just give him the belt, because he hasn't earned it yet, as far as like a mainstream wrestling fan would go. He needs to really, I don't want to say pay the dues, but the audience has to go on the journey with him before he wins it, so that when he does beat Chris Jericho, it's a big moment, or whoever. You know, I think he needs to have that, like, that lower card title. Like Magnum TA, and one of my all-time favorite match is Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard at Starrcade 85 in the I Quit match. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen this match, but it's in a cage, and it is a freaking war, and it ends when Magnum TA is jamming a broken wooden chair into Tully Blanchard's face, and they're on the microphone, and Tully screams, "I quit!" Like, it is an unreal, emotional match.
It sounds like a star-making match.
It was, and Magnum TA comes out of that, and he is the biggest. Him and Dusty Rhodes are the two biggest baby faces in the company, and he wrecked his Porsche. Like, and he's paralyzed from, and the whole left side of his body is paralyzed. So he just never had the chance to achieve the stardom that he was ready for, like a Steve Prefontaine story, kind of. That is the journey that Page needs to be on without the horrific ending.
Right. Okay. No, and you know, you bring up a good point about Jericho. I think you're right. It probably is more important to have that established name veteran being that first champion instead of kind of this newcomer who most people are not going to know.
And if people were going crazy for him at these early AEW shows, I go, you know what, maybe we should. But even on these first 3 shows with a bunch of true believers in the audience, like, everyone going to these AEW shows wants this company to succeed. And he's not, he's like the 5th or 6th biggest guy in the company.
Is he even the 5th? Like, is he even the 5th biggest?
No, probably not, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, probably not.
Because I think what you said about Darby Allin, I feel like he's been made more with that draw 100%. With Cody than Page has been made, even though he's the number 1 contender.
100%.
Now, so little nerd thing. Magnum TA was named apparently after Magnum PI.
Yeah.
Okay, Oz, I see you chiming in.
Well, because I totally forgot about that cat until I looked at him, and I was like, he reminded me of Jake the Snake Roberts.
He does look a little bit like that, yeah.
He does, and I was like, what? Oh God! And then while you guys are chiming in, I'm checking my stock. Dude, oh my God, it's amazing. Seriously, it's amazing. I literally I've been spelunking. It's been cool. So thank you guys. So it's kind of nice. So.
All right. Let's wait.
Regular style, real quick.
Go ahead.
So this is how it feels, huh?
Yeah, this is how it feels to be on the other side of one of the Ozzy Killmonger rants. This is exactly how it feels. We'll end our wrestling tag. JD, let me ask you this real quick before we end.
Sure.
What has been your match of the? If you haven't checked out the G1, by the way, it's on Axis. It's really good. Like if you want to get into wrestling, even JD would tell you I'm a WWE guy. Like that's my team. I stand with them. New Japan Pro is the way to go if you want to get into wrestling. What would be your match of the G1 so far?
Oh boy, it's been so good. My favorite match of the G1 so far, probably Moxley Ishii.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because I think I had a lot of doubt. I'm writing a story about Moxley for Fansided. I write for Fansided. I'm writing a story about calling it the resurrection of John Moxley. When they announced Moxley for the G1, people were like, WWE guy. I don't know if he can really handle the work rate of New Japan. And since coming to New Japan, he has literally reinvented himself. And what I like is he's still doing the big wild brawls, but he's not doing like the Terry Funk clothesline, like the rebound clothesline anymore. He's incorporated a lot more into his offense, and he's having fantastic matches that a fickle Japanese wrestling crowd is really getting into. And I've always been a Dean Ambrose fan. He was my guy in WWE, and I just like seeing his growth. And Ishii is awesome. He's one of the best, most underrated workers in New Japan. And those two just absolutely clicked and gave it this wild brawl that was also a really good match without getting like stupid and having to rely on like the silly gimmicks like the thumbtacks and the whatnot. Like it really hit
glove.
Yeah, exactly. I really think that John Moxley is becoming the next Terry Funk.
That's kind of who he was compared to, pre-WWE.
He totally was. And I heard the Terry Funk, I heard Mick Foley comments, but I see a lot more of the Terry Funk now. Because Terry Funk did his own thing. Like he had Terry Funk, a lot of people forget this, Terry Funk was in the Hogan era WWE early on. And he just left because he felt like it. And went to Japan and did his thing. And I see a lot of that in Moxley. And I see a lot of that in the style that he's really become more comfortable in. It's because Terry Funk could work. Like, the man was a great worker. But he could brawl like nobody's business. And I'm seeing a lot of that in Moxley now. And they're not just the silly WWE style of brawling where they're, like, playing with toys and stuff like that. But, I mean, the Janela match was a little ridiculous for my taste personally. But the stuff I've seen with his Juice match for the U.S. title and his Ishii match were really, really good. And I'm looking forward to him and Naito this weekend.
I'm looking forward to that too. I'm really hoping Naito pulls off an upset. I think that would be a big win for Naito if he's able to beat Moxley.
It's going to happen.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. Naito's going to. Moxley's 4-0. He's not going to. They're not going to, because he's not signed full time. They're not going to have him in the finals.
See, I could see him getting to the finals and losing that match.
I could see that too, but just being a Gato fan and seeing his booking, I think he's going to lose to Naito, and I think he's going to lose to Juice on the last night.
That would be a good way to build Juice. I think Juice deserves that match because they deserve another match for the U.S. title.
For sure. And that's what's going to happen. A prediction, before Moxley goes full-time AEW, Juice will beat him for the U.S. belt again. But New Japan is smart by putting it on Moxley. He's the biggest star outside of the WWE right now in all of wrestling. And he's putting a lot of eyes onto the G1, and him carrying the U.S. title is doing a lot for that belt.
Yeah, I agree. My match of the G1 is like I said at the beginning, Kota Ibushi's my pick. So I'm a big Kota guy. I loved his match with Sonata.
That was so good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. The counters. Sonata is very underrated in my opinion, and I think he deserves. You can't push everybody, and I know that, but I think Sonata deserves that big singles run. And I really enjoyed Will Ospreay and Okada. I think Ospreay is going to beat Okada at some point this year.
He's 0-4 against him, and I watched it last night, and the only reason that wasn't my favorite is because I thought it was the time for Will Ospreay to go over. Like the way WWE fans complain about Roman Reigns, they're like, "Oh, he wins all the time," which isn't true. That is true with Okada. Okada always wins.
He does. He does. And Roman puts people over, man. Like Roman loses a lot.
100%. Everything that WWE fans or WWE haters like myself will complain about Roman Reigns is totally true with Okada.
Yeah, he is. I think he is by far the most protected person, maybe outside of like Shane McMahon.
Anyone. There's no one more protected than Okada.
You're right. I mean, when the last match he lost was,
oh God, when he lost he had that streak last year. They told like a 3-month story where Okada was losing matches.
But then after that, he went on like a 20-match win streak.
Yeah, I mean he's beaten everybody. I mean, like, and I get it. He's the champion. He should beat everybody. He's not going to win the G1 because there's no like interest if the champion wins the G1. So he's going to get beat. But I thought the other night was the night to put Ospreay over.
Well, to be fair, I think the way he was protected really made Kenny Omega seem like a bigger deal when he went to the draw.
Absolutely.
And then when he finally did beat him, I think that did help as far as the mystique, of Kenny Omega being that guy that beat him. So I understand why they did it. But you're right, though. I didn't even think about that till you said it. He is the most protected wrestler going right now.
The Kenny Omega story was 3 years ago. Like, and it's the same with Okada. Like, it's like the same thing people complain about John Cena. Like, it makes me laugh at the non-WWE fans because the stuff they complain about, oh, John Cena never loses, oh, Roman Reigns never loses, that's Okada.
And the thing is, Roman, I mean, there was a period where Cena he did win all the feuds, but he would lose. Sure. He would lose matches. Like, Roman loses matches, man.
Yeah, a lot. Roman puts a lot of guys over. And, like, there's just something polarizing about him. And to be frank, I don't even understand why it is. Like, it's like when the WWE machine chooses someone, half the audience will immediately go, I hate that guy.
You're
just
right.
Because he is the chosen one. And I'm not the biggest Roman fan, but I'm not the biggest Roman hater. Like, I get it. I get why the WWE makes him the guy, wants him to be the guy. He doesn't say stupid things in the media unlike other guys in the company. Like
Seth Rollins. I knew exactly where you were going with that.
Because he keeps doing it. Every time I go, maybe I'm hard on Seth. He'll just come out and say something stupid. Like he's a millionaire and people are trying to take food off his table.
Yeah, okay.
Come on, bro.
It wasn't worded correctly. I definitely. The first one, I could defend him against the Will Ospreay because that's his team. I get it. But you're right about the food on his plate and stuff.
And I get it. It got conversation going. Actually, I think I did wonders for Will Ospreay. I think that whole interaction with Seth Rollins helped make Will Ospreay a bigger star.
Yeah, I do too.
Like he came out of that thing smelling like roses. But like the whole thing with one of his best friends in the business is trying to steal food off his table. I mean, you're rich and your girlfriend's probably richer, and you're gonna play this. I mean, come on, bro.
Multi-millionaire, in the face of the company right now.
Right, the two faces of the company, and I'm supposed to believe that this upstart company is going to take. I mean, come on, like stuff like that makes me roll my eyes.
And the crazy part is that if anything, that company is putting more money in your pocket.
Right, that's what everyone knows. That everyone, like we talked about earlier, AEW, the existence of AEW has made people richer. Yeah. So you can't sit there and tell me that, like, you're not working for the WWE in 1996 when they were cutting back on water.
Right. Yeah, you got me on that, man. Yeah, you know I'm a Rollins guy, and I got nothing for it. I got nothing to defend him with.
Oh, I like him too. He just says, I like Seth Rollins. Colby Lopez says dumb shit when given the opportunity.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. Like, Rollins is great, but him as a person is not. He's not the face as a person.
I agree with that. And that's like, I'm always the guy championing, man, the wrestlers should speak for themselves. They should speak for themselves. And this dude every time he has a chance to speak for himself, I'm like, why would you say that?
Why would you
say that? Yeah, every time.
Curb stomps himself.
It's fun. You're right back there, Oz. You're quiet.
Well, I will say this. I just changed my oil. Thank you guys very much. I've been meaning to do that. I'm trying to discover some cures for some very rare diseases. And now, look, Regular Scott, this is for you. Since you guys mentioned Magnum TA, did you know that dude is from Norfolk, Virginia?
Wow, you really pulled that one out.
Well, I didn't. I'm totally fascinated by this cat now, and he had a crazy but he had a crazy Porsche accident.
Hey, you know what?
Wild.
You know what, JD? Here, I'll bring Oz in a little bit. One of Oz's good high school friends runs Big Time Wrestling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they I guess I don't know if they come around to Chicago, but it's a smaller indie promotion, and they bring people like Kane, Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, Ric Flair. They go to Charlotte and different places like that, and he kind of promotes wrestling. And he one of Oz's high school buddies kind of helps promote the Big Time Wrestling. It's Xavier Woods has been a part of it. Yeah, it's really cool.
See, the problem is we should have had him on the show with you and JD too.
Oh, look, you wouldn't have got a word in, Oz.
Oh, it would have been. I would have been like, wow. Okay, so this. Okay, cool.
Oh man! All right.
I would have thought it would have been an intervention for me. So it's fine.
Well, you've definitely given me an intervention on Arrow before, so I think it would have been fair. So, all right.
And I'm sorry, JD. I was being rude. Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, good. I was just checking that.
All right, man. That was a good conversation. That's the quietest I've ever heard Oz on this show. So,
man, I was going. Well, what's on CNN right now? Oh my God, I'm on a podcast.
Hey,
okay,
to be fair, you did like give more than I thought you were going to give to the wrestling conversation. To be fair.
No, it was cool. Yeah, you guys go in deep, man. And I just, it is very true. It is. We love a good bad guy. We love a good guy. So wrestling's rad. I am kind of curious about this G1 stuff or whatever. So,
like I said, if you wanted to get into it, or just if you wanted to like just check it out and something to try out, as a WWE guy, don't watch WWE. Definitely watch New Japan. Because I think that
how do I watch the New Japan? How would I do that?
Access. You have Access, the channel Access.
Oh, maybe I wonder if I would have it. Maybe I'll just have to start YouTube.
The more sports-like, and because they take it more serious. Like, there's not a lot of games. There's not a lot of like.
No. I was watching. While you guys were talking, I was actually watching some matches, and they just like they're like, hey, look, no flamboyant Jesse the Body Ventura costumes or anything like this. We're just gonna go wrestle. It's cool.
Except for like Tai Chi, but
they do have some costumes. Like Shingo Takagi comes out there with a big old dragon mask on his face. Like it gets there, but
Lord.
When the matches start, it's a little more
it's more sports like, and I think that's what a lot of people, like we've talked about. I think that's kind of what people want now because of how WWE has been presented for so long.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and since I've been so quiet for so long, my vocal cords kind of froze up a little bit, but they're thawing out. Where do you guys see this elite wrestling new dimension 1 year from now?
It will start on TNT on October 10th, or October 2nd, Wednesday nights.
No, hold on, wait. Where do you see it a year from now, though, JD?
Oh, a year from now. I'm sorry. That's a great question, man.
Yeah.
I mean, these first few months are going to be super important to this
company.
I think if they're smart, they'll play to smaller arenas because it's better to have 3,000 people jam-packed than 5,000 people in a 12,000-seat arena.
True.
Like, I think that's going to be super important for them. I think they will be around because they have a billionaire owner. As far as revolutionizing the business goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not good at predicting things, so I'm not going to make.
So wait, does it feel like they're trying to take New Japan and bring it to New America?
No, I think they're trying to take a little bit of New Japan and a little bit of WWE and find a product that's in the middle.
Okay.
Because they do have some, like, even AEW has some really bad gimmicks, too. Like the librarian gimmick, I'm not a fan of.
Terrible.
Yeah, so, they definitely have some stuff that they're going to have to, clean up themselves. Like, I haven't been too impressed with their women's division.
I like the Joshi stuff.
I don't like Brandy Rhodes, so.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does.
Brandy Rhodes would be Dusty Rhodes'
daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law.
Cody's wife.
And she wrestles.
Poorly. She tries. She goes out there.
Thing.
She's not very. As long as if they play it up that she's bad and has to have Awesome Kong do all the work for her, I'm okay as long as she's not the champion. Because I've seen that story before in WWE. Like, I don't want WWE light.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Like, if you're not going to beat them by doing what they do.
Especially with Allie, man. Like, Allie has talent.
She does.
I wasn't a fan of that decision. But if it leads to her getting her revenge, I'm okay with it. But I don't see how she will when Awesome Kong is the one she's got to go through.
And it's hard now because they're doing shows every few weeks to few months, and it's hard to get a rhythm. Like I said, I'm gonna let everything slide until they get TV. If it's an issue 6 months from now and it's the same thing, then I'll be like, yeah, man, you were 100% right on that. But for right now, I'll be like, okay, let's see how this plays out because we don't have weekly storytelling yet.
That's true. All right. Well, this has been great.
Wait, I was just about to get into my submarine, but I okay, that's cool.
Save the submarine. Well, you can get into that in a little bit.
Now, and Regular Scott,
What's
can
up?
I ask a favor real quick before you do anything?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you plug our show, please?
Okay.
Let's give JD a chance to plug the show, but can you do your proper business?
All right, and you can find us on iTunes, Spreaker, Podcoin, where you get paid to listen to your podcast, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you download your podcast. JD, I know you plugged some books earlier. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, listen to Superhero Speak. Our show's come out every Wednesday. Same everywhere you can find podcasts. And, follow me on Twitter at JD_Oliva. Got some books coming out in the next couple months, man. I talk a lot about wrestling and stupid stuff.
Hey, you fit right in with us. That's
you're in perfect company, dude.
Right.
That's why I wanted to come on, man. You guys are awesome. I love your show.
I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. All right, final blow time. JD, as the guest, you can you give the first final blow.
Oh man, we've gone so much longer than I thought. I think I'm tapped out.
JD, don't give it final blow, final breath. I know, dude. You guys, seriously. I was just going, man. I should start watching wrestling. This is crazy.
We did kind of go in a little bit on the wrestling thing. Like
I was afraid that was going to happen.
I was too, actually. But then once we started rolling, I was like, man, this is good though.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but literally, I had some coal and it turned into a diamond.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever, man. Whatever. You're a hater. That's all I got to say. You're a hater, man. You're a hater. All right, Oz, what you got for the final blow?
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. My final blow is like this. I know that I will be devouring a book called Harvest Moon as soon as it comes out. So
I like that.
So that man, when you said that, JD, that was like again, that's awesome, man. And I also on my final blow, which will not be about Titans or Young Justice, Regular Scott.
That's a lie. You just brought it up, so keep going.
I know. I kind of did. I had to. But anyway, folks, again, check out Harvest Moon. And, man, JD, you are doing awesome things. And I'm really excited and happy that we had you on the show.
Thanks, man.
And the comic knowledge you have is amazing. The wrestling knowledge, it let me have the best sleep I've had in a long time. So I appreciate that.
Man.
So Yeah, it literally, when you guys started talking about wrestling, I felt like I was being hypnotized or something. So I was very suggestible, so it's fine. But yeah, I look forward to the book, and man, for me, JD, thank you, man. We really appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks for having me on, man. This was a blast. I really liked it.
My final blow is again, like I said, JD, we appreciate you being on. You're doing a lot of big things yourself. You got books coming out. Definitely check out Superhero Speak. They do a lot of interviews. Oz, you'll appreciate this. They interviewed Kevin Conroy. That was cool.
No, what are you guys doing, JD? Holy smokes!
Yeah, John and Dave get out to the conventions, and they collect so many interviews that we get backloaded with them. Like, I think there's still interviews we have that we haven't posted yet.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, they do big things over there, man. So definitely check them out.
Amazing things over there.
Yeah, so definitely check them out, and we definitely appreciate you coming on. Oz, I'm gonna let you hold on to the comic book story of professional wrestling. I think you'll really enjoy that. Definitely check out.
But Regular Scott, please don't lie about it, because you told me about this before. You said you're going to bring her to the house, but somehow you forget every time.
Well, that's because because every time I give you one of my graphic novels, I don't get it back for like 6 months.
Well, I believe books were made to be enjoyed, so I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Check out the G1. This is probably, I don't ever get to talk about wrestling, so I'm sorry me and JD went on like we did, but I don't ever get to nerd out with wrestling like this.
Regular Scott,
I really enjoyed this one.
You got you two were just going at it. It was, you know what? I'm sorry. Before we leave, you two talking about wrestling reminded me of actually the scene in Young Justice where I believe the Flash and Bart Allen are talking at super speed, and Wally West is like, "What are they saying?"
I do remember that scene. And you know what, Oz, to be honest, you better think JD, because I initially was just going to talk about wrestling the whole time, and JD was like, "Nah, we can talk about some comic stuff too." So you need to thank JD for that.
Well, Regular Scott, JD, thank you very much.
Because when we were talking about it, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring up the G1 and all that." He was like, "Yeah, we can talk about some comic stuff first, though. We don't leave Oz out."
We had a woman named Madison Rain on our show once. She's a TNA wrestler. And she was doing a comics. Yeah, she was doing a comics Kickstarter. And Dave's like, "Do you know this woman?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm a fan." So he's like, "All right, we can do a little bit of wrestling stuff too." And I completely commandeered the show, and all we talked about was wrestling. And awesome. Dave at one point's like, "JD, stop, pull it back." I'm like, sorry. Because I'm the same way. I never get to talk about wrestling in a forum like this. So.
No, I'm sorry. You two are a lethal weapon. The comics and wrestling. Whew.
Hey, man. Hey, look, Oz, we gave you the first hour, so.
I actually was like, I believe it was like 52 minutes. But who's counting? Okay. Who's counting? It's fine. Man.
All right. Well, JD, again, we appreciate you coming on. Tell everyone, because we're definitely going to have you back on. So tell everyone we'll talk to them next time.
I'd love to.
Oz, tell everyone you'll talk to them next time.
Yes, and everybody, peace and chicken grease.
And y'all have a good time, because we're going to have a good time until we talk to y'all next time. Peace. That was great.
That was awesome. I had a freaking blast.
Welcome to the Anything, Everything, and Nothing podcast with Lynn and Kim. Join us as we discuss the latest in everything from entertainment and current events to the craziness that is our real life.
Let's laugh, let's live, let's talk about it. New episode every Tuesday on the Defy Life Podcast Network. And remember, if you're not defying life, then what are you doing? Lynn and Kim.